Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The villain starts from dual cultivation with the protagonist master. Chapter 61. Master Lu Chuan, let's go to the Lantern Festival. When Lu Chuan was practicing and consolidating his cultivation in the room, there was a knock on the door. Lu Qianzhou's voice came from outside. Okay. Lu Chuan responded and opened the door. Lu Chuan has not seen Lu Qianzhou and Lin Qingshe for 7 or 8 days. Lu Chuan misses them very much and has many things to say to them. The next opportunity will appear soon, and there is not much leisure time left in the past few days. Lu Qianzhou was the only one standing at the door. Lu Qianzhou changed her hairstyle, and her long curly hair was carefully tied into double ponytails and draped in front of her body. Wearing a long red dress, she showed off Lu Qianzhou's proud figure. Her smooth and slender legs, and her small and exquisite feet were wrapped in embroidered shoes. There is no trace of fat on the legs and feet, exuding health and vitality, as if they are perfect works of art in the world, which attracted Lu Chuan to stop and appreciate them. Lin Qingshe helped style her hair, and Luo Li helped choose her dress. A fan embroidered with a picture of mandarin ducks playing in the water was held in a slender hand. Seeing Lu Chuan staring at her legs as soon as she opened the door, Lu Qianzhou felt her face heat up. She turned her eyes to the side and gently waved the fan in her hand to calm herself down. Cool down. Master, don't stare. Lu Qianzhou moved her feet slightly, trying to get her legs out of Lu Chuan's sight, and whispered. It's Sister Chu who is so pretty. Lu Chuan laughed and said. Then young master, you can't stare at my legs and feet. Ah, I don't want to deny the young master's interest. Lu Qianzhou had a panic look on her face and waved her hand. I'm very happy that the young master likes me. If the young master has a preference in this regard, I will show him more in the future. In Lu Qianzhou's heart, Lu Chuan has been beaten to death. Lu Chuan said, let's go. Didn't you say you were going to see the Lantern Festival? We haven't seen each other in the past few days. I have a lot to say. Well, I miss the young master too. Looking at the town built by immortals to the west of Immortal Gate, various lanterns lit up every corner of the town. On the busy streets, pedestrians were full of enthusiasm, laughing and talking about interesting things happening around them. This is an annual lantern festival, a celebration held when the spiritual grass matures. Lu Qianzhou and Lu Chuan walked side by side, telling each other how much they missed each other. You miss me so much that you don't know how to come out and see me. Didn't I go to Luo Li to test his swordsmanship a few days ago? That's because I want the young master to think more about himself. Lu Qianzhou said. What have you been talking about these past few days at Lin Qingshe Mountain Gate? It's a secret that cannot be told to the young master. A few days ago, after Lu Qianzhou was brought back to the mountain gate, Lin Qingshe took her to his room. Qianzhou, you like Lu Chuan, right? No. Sister is right, I like Lu Chuan. Lu Qianzhou wanted to explain, but she admitted it anyway. Lin Qingshe may be the future young lady. She can hide her feelings for a while, but not for the rest of her life. How far have you developed? Everything I should do and what I shouldn't do has been done. There was no blame on Lin Qingshui's face. Instead, she took Lu Qianzhou's hands and said with a smile, then you were right to call me sister, Sister Chu. Under Lin Qingshui's gentle questions, Lu Qianzhou talked about the process from meeting the young master, to watching him grow up, and finally falling in love with him. It was a tortuous emotional experience. Fortunately, we reconciled in the end. You paid so much for Lu Chuan. I agree. Recognize what? Lu Qianzhou asked. I recognize you as my sister. Lin Qingshe said. Lu Qianzhou knew that Lin Qingshe had acquiesced in her relationship with the young master. Have you ever seen the girl named Su next to Lu Chuan? She must have other thoughts about Lu Chuan. I don't want to have so many sisters. Let's form a united front. We are not forcing Lu Chuan to stay away from other women. Just supervise him not to find shady people. With his character, being gentle to everyone and not being able to see others being hurt, he may attract many women. Lin Qingshe continued. Lin Qingshe was attracted by this aspect of Lu Chuan. She knows only too well that in the world of cultivation where the fittest survive and there is competition everywhere, a capable, talented, and actionable, good guy, like Lu Chuan can break the coldness in the hearts of many fairies and become their sweetheart. Lu Qianzhou felt that what Lin Qingxie said was very reasonable, so she agreed. In the past few days, I have been chatting with her at Lin Qingxie Mountain Gate about Lu Chuan's past, and how I can leave my own piece of land in Lu Chuan's heart. It's a secret, forget it. There are a lot of people over there, let's go see what there is to see. Lu Chuan took Lu Qianzhou's hand and walked aside. Lin Qingxie Mountain Gate. Lin Qingxie finished tying Lu Qianzhou's hair and asked her to go ahead. She was still looking for suitable clothes. Luo Li, which one do you think looks better? Luo Li didn't want to answer this question and said casually, my beautiful master has an extraordinary temperament and looks good no matter what he wears. Stop learning these bad things from Lu Chuan and learn more about cultivation. Forget it, I'll just wear this light blue dress. Luo Li was kicked out of the room. She stood in the courtyard and looked up at the bright moon hanging in the sky. Master is going to watch the Lantern Festival with senior brother Lu Chuan, and I also want to give Master some advice on which clothes senior brother Lu Chuan would like. How could any master attack his disciple like this? Forget it, I'd better practice the sword, now it's more important to improve my strength. Luo Li sighed and thought. Once the revenge is avenged and all the evil cultivators of Sha Kingdom are killed, there is no need to hide the identity of a daughter. Judging from the master's attitude towards Lu Qianzhou, he should not care about having more sisters around him. He still has a chance. Nangong Shi, who was well dressed, came to Lin Qingxie Mountain Gate. He had invited Lin Qingxie to enjoy the Lantern Festival before, but he was delayed by going to Azure Rock Town, so he wanted to invite Lin Qingxie again today. Sister Lin, the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. There is a Lantern Festival in the town to the west. Let's go to the Lantern Festival together. Nangong Shi declared loudly. Go away, I'm going to enjoy the Lantern Festival with my fellow Taoists later. Nangong Shi, don't bother me anymore. After so many years, why don't you understand that we can't do it? Lin Qingxie changed her clothes, stepped on the flying sword and rushed to Lu Chuan, leaving a beautiful shadow of Nangong Shi. Taoist companion, senior sister Lin's Taoist companion. The other person must be a man 1,000 times better than me, and I finally fell out of love. Nangong Shi said, taking out a bottle of wine from the storage ring, leaning against the tree at the mountain gate, drinking heavily while admiring the moon. Luo Li could vaguely see the crystal tears in the corners of Nangong's eyes. You can't be a loser in love like Elder Nangong. He must take revenge as soon as possible, confess his identity, and then launch an offensive against senior brother Lu Chuan. Luo Li thought and increased the strength of his sword swing. Central Mountains. This is the most fertile land in the eastern continent, stretching for thousands of miles. Rare spiritual grasses breed in large numbers inside, and ferocious spirit beasts roam everywhere. Legend has it that in ancient times, this land was one of the residences of dragon race. Several decent elders responsible for checking the maturity of the spiritual grass have finished their work and are sending messages to their sects saying that the picking festival can be held as scheduled. An elder in the corner wrote an extra voice talisman, and the person receiving the message was the evil cultivator who was waiting outside the mountains. Evil cultivator began to arrange hundreds or even thousands of formations of various sizes in the central mountain range. Zhang Sheng sat on the dragon chair of Sha Kingdom, tasting the fresh blood in the cup. Let's see what you choose this time. Do you want the future of the sect, or sacrifice yourself to protect the secrets of the world? The show is about to begin, and Zhang Sheng is going to give the master the best gift for his coming out. Guess who I am? Lu Chuan and Lu Qianzhou were holding hands, laughing and enjoying the lanterns, when Lin Qingxie suddenly came out from behind Lu Chuan and blindfolded Lu Chuan. Uncle Lin. Wrong, I am Qingxie. After Lin Qingxie finished speaking, his slender hands moved down and wrapped around Lu Chuan's neck. His body pressed forward and his head was close to Lu Chuan's ear. She said softly, in front of Sister Chu, just call me Qingxie. Lu Chuan could feel the pressure of Lin Qingxui's plump heart, and was also surrounded by her unique fragrance. Qingxie. Lu Chuan swallowed his saliva and said, then glanced at Lu Qianzhou, who was holding hands with him next to him. Lu Qianzhou was watching the interaction between Lu Chuan and Lin Qingxie, with the corners of her mouth raised. You guessed it right, I'll give you a reward. Lin Qingxie tilted her face and kissed Lu Chuan's face. Then he came to Lu Chuan and held Lu Chuan in his arms. Lu Qianzhou laughed out loud when she saw this scene. So Lu Chuan's current situation is that he is holding Lu Qianzhou on the left side and Lin Qingshe on the right side, and the distance between their bodies is close to nothing. There are many couples at the Lantern Festival, and there are also some who are wanton and intimate regardless of other people's opinions. But Lu Chuan still attracted the attention of people around him. The handsome young man hugged each other, and both women were as beautiful as celestial immortal, each with their own characteristics. Lin Qingshe has a cold temperament, while Lu Qianzhou gives everyone a warm and friendly feeling, with unique charm and attraction. Who is that man? Why are they hugging each other? Both women are extremely beautiful. If I could be favored by fairies like them, I would die without regrets. There are two of them with that man at the same time. It's really infuriating. Please keep your voice down. If he is a big shot in any sect or the legitimate son of a cultivation family, you will suffer. Languages like this are popping up one after another at the Lantern Festival. Lin Qingshe turned to Lu Chuan and asked with a smile, "How does it feel to be hugged from one side to the other?" "I am envied and hated by everyone." "Qingshe, stop laughing at me, what are you doing?" "Who are you kidding? Sister Chu and I are serious. We are all waiting for you to marry us." Since Lu Chuan awakened from his past life memories, all basic concepts of the world of cultivation have become blurred. In the world of cultivation, it is normal for one person to have multiple Taoist companions. It is normal for a maid to leave her body and mind to her master when she gets married. Why don't you speak? Are you unwilling? Lin Qingshui's face swelled and she stared into Lu Chuan's eyes. On the left, Lu Qianzhou's smile faded and she lowered her head to peek at Lu Chuan. The hands she held with Lu Chuan were straining because of nervousness. Lu Chuan knew that a promise had to be made to the two of them, otherwise both of them would be disappointed. "I was wondering where I got such good luck to be favored by two fairy sisters. Just wait, I will definitely give you happiness." The system that was sleeping in Lu Chuan's spiritual consciousness suddenly trembled, and after confirming that Lu Chuan was safe, he fell into a deep sleep again. Lin Qingshe and Lu Qianzhou had bright smiles on their faces and said in unison, "We are waiting for you." Lin Qingshe continued, "With the two of us, you should be satisfied. I don't want so many sisters. Do you have anyone else in your heart now?" Su Lianlian's face flashed through Lu Chuan's mind, but he thought that she would return to the demon continent in the future and would not have the opportunity to meet Lin Qingshe. He shook his head and said with a guilty conscience, "It's gone for now." "Not yet. I won't be with you anymore." Lin Qingshe let go of Lu Chuan and pulled Lu Qianzhou to run to the food stall to buy something. "Let's go, Sister Chu, let's go shopping by ourselves." The two bought different snacks. Lin Qingshe bought maltose, and Lu Qianzhou bought sweet-scented osmanthus cake. There was a malicious smile on the two people's faces. They bet on whose hand Lu Chuan would eat first. They held out the snacks in their hands at the same time and said, "Lu Chuan, I bought you maltose. Master, this is the sweet-scented osmanthus cake you like to eat." Then they said in unison, "Eat me first." Lu Chuan thought that it didn't matter who he ate first, so in order to show that both of them were important in his heart, he took maltose and osmanthus cake and ate them together. Very sweet and not very tasty. Seeing Lu Chuan's expression, the two women began to worry. Lu Chuan eats slowly. "Master, I have water here." The Lantern Festival was on until early in the morning, and the three of them found an inn to stay in the town and had an in-depth exchange of views. Communicating is a matter of elegance. It wasn't until noon the next day that the three returned to watch the Immortal Gate. Luo Li was still practicing his sword in the courtyard. He only saw his master and Lu Qianzhou at noon. They had faint smiles on their faces, and their spirits were several notches better than yesterday. Luo Li suppressed the annoyance in his heart and swung the sword faster and with more force. "Luo Li, don't just use brute force," Lin Qingshe said softly, with a hint of happiness in his voice. "I know, master." When answering Lin Qingshe, Luo Li cried, "Anyway, I am just an ordinary junior fellow apprentice. Anyway, I am just a dispensable disciple." Has Luo Li been stimulated by something? It seems that it would be better to take him with him to the next Lantern Festival. Lin Qingshe thought. On the other side, in Spirit Sword Sect, Shu Murong was sitting in front of Qin Chuqing, listening to Qin Chuqing's complaints. Master, are you saying that you failed to break off the engagement and now the engagement has been finalized? Ching, Master, I was wrong, please forgive me this time. If it doesn't work, let's try to make contact first, okay? Qin Chuqing said righteously. I don't want it. The love between men and women will only confuse my mind. I just want to practice well and achieve the great Tao to repay the Master and the Spirit Sword sect. Shu Marong still wants to bring Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing together. The benefits that Qin Chuqing can get are too great. Qin Chuqing is still young and doesn't understand this. I don't need you to repay me. You can repay me by marrying Lu Chuan. Shu Marong thought of a good idea. Wang Song told her that Lu Chuan could kill the experienced evil cultivator in the mid-stage of foundation building without being seriously injured, so it was not an easy task to deal with his apprentice who had just advanced. Qin Chuqing has an extremely strong personality, so he just needs to provoke her with words and let her compete with Lu Chuan. If she loses, she will get married. If she wins, she will make the decision. Qing, you think this is great. We will go to Immortal Gate tomorrow. You have a competition with Lu Chuan. If you decide who wins, you can make a request. In this way, if we win, we will have a reason to break off the engagement, right? Disciple is at a critical moment. The strength of the foundation building in the midterm has not been fully consolidated. I still ask Master to find a way to reject this marriage. Shu Marong changed her voice and said in a provocative tone, Boy Lu Chuan also defeated an evil cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building across levels a few days ago. It's no wonder that Qing is afraid of losing. It's up to me to figure out a way. Who says I'm afraid of him? I just find it troublesome. It's true that he can kill evil cultivator across levels, but that evil cultivator must be a parallel import with no foundation and empty cultivation base. It's a competition. If the disciple wins, please still ask Master abides by the agreement and cancels the engagement. Okay, let's cancel the engagement. Tomorrow we will go to Immortal Gate to compete with Lu Chuan. Seeing that the plan was successful, Shu Marong was secretly happy. Lu Chuan boy, you have to work hard, such a good wife will be delivered to your door soon. Qing has only been promoted recently, and foundation building still has the strength to fight in the early stages. At this moment, looking at the Immortal Gate Master Peak, Lu Chuan is practicing and consolidating the initial gold core cultivation. The system's voice sounded, Who's Empress's little wife? No one wants me, so I'll take it away. Mission. Defeat Qin Chuqing with one move and make her surrender to the host's strength. Reward. Alchemy technique, great accomplishment. Early the next morning after the Lantern Festival, inside Zongmin Peak. After Wang Song came back from Azure Rock Town, he had been busy dealing with what happened next, and then he had time to come to Lu Chuan's room. After receiving the Evergreen Ju, given by his ancestor, Wang Song said happily. Lu Chuan, on behalf of all the members of Immortal Gate, I would like to thank you. It is also thanks to you that no bigger tragedy occurred in Azure Rock Town. Su Lianlian and Luo Li also made a great contribution. You will go to the sect treasure house later. Each person here will choose a spirit treasure as a reward. Thank you, Elder Wang. Su Lianlian is in retreat to attack the foundation building stage. I will go and notify Luo Li right away. At this time, the gatekeeper disciple of Wang Immortal Gate rushed to the head peak. Great Elder, something bad has happened. The disciple said breathlessly, the people from Spirit Sword Sect are here. Lu Chuan was secretly happy. It seemed that the day when he became a master of alchemy was today. Spirit Sword Sect, what are they here for? Wang Song asked with a frown. They are here to break off the engagement with senior brother Lu Chuan. They have been waiting at the gate for half a stick of incense. Elder Wang, please go and have a look. Wang Song and Lu Chuan flew to the gate of Immortal Gate with their swords. I saw a dozen Spirit Sword Sect people standing outside the door. In addition to Qin Chuqing and Shu Marong, there were also a dozen middle-aged men and women. Master, just listen to my advice, you can't cancel this marriage. HMPH, Qin Chuqing, our Spirit Sword Sect freshman chief, is already in the middle of the foundation building at the age of 20. Then Lu Chuan was chi refining late stage not long ago. He is not worthy of Qin Chuqing. Around Shu Marong, the elders of Spirit Sword Sect were giving advice. Some of them support Qin Chuqing to become the next head of the sect and hope to get married. some don't want to try their best to instigate the breakup of the engagement, and some of them really think that Lu Chuan is not worthy of being the chief of their sect. Inside the gate, there were hundreds of Immortal Gate disciples and many sect elders standing. After the Spirit Sword sect arrived, it took some time for the gate disciple to find the person in charge, Elder Wang Song. The strange noise at the gate attracted everyone to come and watch. When they heard that it was Spirit Sword sect who came to Lu Chuan to break the engagement, they all became interested and wanted to see how things would develop. Lin Qingshe sent Lu Qianqiu back to the Qianqiu Chamber of Commerce in Shangle City today. The two have a good relationship and love each other like sisters. Lu Qianqiu said that she would take Lin Qingshe to have a good time as a landlord and would not come back for a few days. After seeing Wang Song and Lu Chuan arrive, Xu Mirong said, "Shut up, let me handle the matter myself." Spirit Sword sect many elders did not dare to say anything. Qin Chuqing had seen Wang Song and saluted with clasped fists, "Uncle Wang." "Okay, Chuqing has grown up so much. You are here today." Wang Song was watched by thousands of people at Spirit Sword sect and Immortal Gate, and he didn't want to say the wrong thing. "Uncle Wang, today I came to Lu Chuan to break off the engagement." When the elder of the Spirit Sword sect, who advocated breaking off the engagement, heard this, he became excited and said words that belittled Lu Chuan and elevated Qin Chuqing. Qin Chuqing frowned her beautiful eyebrows, turned to the elder who was speaking, and said seriously, "Elder, I came to Lu Chuan to break off the engagement not because I look down on him, but because I only focus on cultivation and have no intention of finding a Taoist partner. Please respect Lu Chuan and withdraw what you said." The elder could only smile awkwardly and nodded yes. Lu Chuan nodded. Qin Chuqing still had the same character as in the original work. She was cold and arrogant and never looked down on others. No wonder she would be elected as the empress by all the decent factions in the future. Qin Chuqing continued to say to Lu Chuan, "Mr. Lu, our marriage was decided by Uncle Zhang and Master without permission. Neither you nor I agreed. How about this? Let's have a competition, and the winner can make a request. If you win, please agree to break off the engagement, and as compensation, Master, she will also give you the Spirit Stone Spirit Treasure as compensation." There is a natural nobility and confidence in her words, which makes people easy to believe. This is the speaking talent of the future empress. From Qin Chuqing's words and deeds, it was completely impossible to tell that she was a beggar wandering on the road, but that she was a lady from a wealthy family. "Okay, let's compete. If you win, you can cancel the engagement." "What if I win?" Lu Chuan responded with a faint smile, looking quite confident. "When I was in the gold core stage, I beat a little girl who was just in the middle stage of foundation building. I didn't even have a hand to pinch her. Let me take down the future empress with one move." "It's up to you, I will never say no," Qin Chuqing replied. All the onlookers present were excited. I hope the disciples and elders at Immortal Gate are discussing Lu Chuan as the new chief of our Immortal Gate, and Qin Chuqing as the new chief of Apex Level Sect Spirit Sword Sect. Now we can see some of them. Although I support Lu Chuan, I am optimistic about Qin Chuqing. Lu Chuan was still on the Qi refining stage not long ago, and Qin Yedu was promoted to foundation building last year. The market is open. Lu Chuan versus Qin Chuqing. Come and invest in the people you like, maybe you can make a lot of money. There are many people supporting Lu Chuan, but most people prefer Qin Chuqing to win. Only the most apex level elders of each sect knew about Lu Chuan's over-level killing of evil cultivator in Azure Rock Town. I'll spend 5,000 spirit stones to beat Brother Lu to win. The speaker was Ji Yu Ming, who was the only survivor of the first batch of disciples who went to Azure Rock Town more than a month ago. According to his understanding, it was Lu Chuan who saved him. Although he had been in the business for a long time and was older than Lu Chuan, he still called Lu Chuan Brother Lu. The GU family runs a business association in the secular world and has no shortage of spirit stones. Seeing that everyone was not optimistic about Lu Chuan, he couldn't bear it anymore and stepped forward to support Lu Chuan. Several people watched Ji Yu Ming press so much money, and also followed up with some spirit stones. On the Spirit Sword sect side, all the elders believed that there was no suspense about the outcome, and Qin Chuqing would win the competition with an overwhelming advantage. Hurry up and return to the sect after the fight. We have to compete to cancel the engagement. We at Spirit Sword Sect are really polite. I think we can just leave the compensation and leave. Qin Chuqing wins anyway. Luo Li stood at the front of the crowd and listened clearly to the words of the Spirit Sword Sect elder. These people don't understand senior brother Lu Chuan at all. Senior brother Lu Chuan's attainments in swordsmanship and Taoism are beyond what they could compare to when they were at the foundation building stage. While Luo Li felt unfair for Lu Chuan, he also had complicated emotions in his heart. If senior brother Lu Chuan loses in the competition, this is definitely not what Luo Li wants. But if senior brother Lu Chuan wins over Qin Chuqing, they will not be able to break off the marriage. Qin Chuqing will become senior brother's fiancé, and she and master will have one more love rival. Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing came to the competition stage for the inner sect's freshman competition. There were more people watching the competition. Some Spirit Sword Sect disciples even heard that there was an exciting competition and hurriedly came to see the Immortal Gate. The two of them hugged each other and saluted. Chief Spirit Sword Sect, Qin Chuqing. Looking at Immortal Gate Chief, Lu Chuan, Wang Song and Xu Murong, who were in charge of being the referees, said at the same time, the competition begins. Qin Chuqing took out his spiritual sword and got ready for battle. When he saw Lu Chuan holding a wooden sword in his hand, he was standing relaxedly in front of him, full of flaws. He was looked down upon by Lu Chuan. Where is your spiritual sword? Qin Chuqing frowned, stared at Lu Chuan's face, and asked in a deep voice. To deal with you, a wooden sword is enough. Young Master Lu, you have such a strong tone. But a competition is a competition, and I won't give in. Please be prepared. Qin Chuqing mobilized the spiritual energy in her dantian in an instant, exerted all her strength, and swung her spiritual sword straight towards Lu Chuan's flaw. On the face that looked like flawless white jade, the small cherry mouth was slightly raised, and there was a seriousness in the dark and deep eyes. Holding a long sword, her body looks like flying, the sword light flashes, the light yellow dress dances gracefully with the movements, and the floral patterns used for decoration are like petals falling in the wind. Her movements were smooth and graceful, yet powerful, as if she was not competing with others, but enjoying herself while dancing with a sword. She did not break her promise. A competition is a competition. She will go all out to defeat Lu Chuan. This is to give her opponent basic respect. Qin Chuqing is such a person. She only believes in her master and her own strength. She is extremely confident and can even be said to be arrogant. It doesn't matter that she was born as a beggar, or that she doesn't understand the world and wants to flatter her. She wants to rely on her own strength to conquer all those who look down on her. If you want to marry yourself, you must at least be as talented as your own young man. It's a pity that there is no one among the younger generation in the world of cultivation who is better than Qin Chuqing. After defeating Lu Chuan and cancelling the engagement, she has to return to the Spirit Sword Sect to prepare for the picking festival. This time she also wants to take first place. Is this girl really in the middle of foundation building? Why does she feel more oppressive than Zuo Tianya gives me? Lu Chuan thought. Qin Chuqing's attacks were dodged the moment they were about to touch Lu Chuan. This is Lu Chuan hiding his cultivation. In order to prevent his strength from being exposed, in the early stage of the match between foundation building and foundation building, defense and avoidance should be the main focus in the middle stage. In fact, as long as he was serious, he didn't even need to hold a weapon. A casual punch would be enough for Qin Chuqing. When the elders who were watching saw that Qin Chuqing could mobilize spiritual energy in an instant, they all exclaimed. Qin Chuqing is such a good young talent. Being able to freely and autonomously operate her spiritual energy on the foundation building stage will definitely be of great use in the future. In the past few years, there have been a lot of talented people in the Zhengpai. Our sect's Lu Chuan is also a rare genius. He knows that his cultivation level is far behind, so he uses his strengths and avoids his weaknesses. Instead of confronting Miss Qin head-on, he looks for opportunities to counterattack while avoiding. Ha ha ha, the future of the world still lies in our decent hands. The evil cultivator Demon Dao can only survive in the northern part of the western region. Some of the disciples of the Spirit Sword Sect saw Qin Chuqing take action for the first time, and they all marveled at her sharp movements, which were both extremely offensive and elegant at the same time. They discussed, Senior Sister Qin is indeed an extraordinary person. I never imagined that she would reach the middle stage of foundation building at the age of 20. She is truly a role model for our generation. Qin Chuqing is not only fast in cultivation, but also quite skilled in actual combat. Her peerless face and excellent figure are passed down from our sect. She is extremely popular in every sect, but those who pursue her in front of Qin Chuqing men will give up the idea of pursuit. Do you know why? These words attracted a large number of disciples around, including those who hoped to be Immortal Gate Spirit Sword sect. Those who pursue Qin Chuqing will either have their legs and legs broken, or be beaten to the point of resting. Senior Sister Qin said this: "If you want to be my Taoist companion, you must first beat me." The disciples who had any illusions about Qin Chuqing's figure gave up their thoughts one after another. You can still find another Taoist companion, but you only have one life. On the stage, Qin Chuqing was also surprised by Lu Chuan's quick and timely movements, and her eyes lit up. This was the first time that a peer could last so long. He was too extreme. So, how about this? Qin Chuqing gave up the attack because Lu Chuan had many flaws, and instead used his sword to slash at the wooden sword in Lu Chuan's hand. I don't need a high-grade spiritual sword to ask you to entrust me. The one in my hand is the 7th-grade spirit sword. The small wooden sword cannot withstand a blow. Without the weapon, I have to admit defeat. Lu Chuan saw that Qin Chuqing gave up her body and instead aimed at the wooden sword in her hand, knowing that the opportunity had come. Wrapping the wooden sword with spiritual energy, he slashed at the spiritual sword in Qin Chuqing's hand. The swordsmanship competition is not just about swordsmanship, but also swordsmanship. As long as you have made great progress with the sword recently, you can still complete the task without exposing your cultivation. The winner has been decided. It's really boring. Do you think the chief of Immortal Gate only knows body skills? The elders of Spirit Sword sect had already turned around and were about to leave, taunting them. Wait a minute, something's wrong. Qin Chuqing fell down. Lu Chuan is still standing on the stage. The two disciples shouted, and the whole place changed from a noisy state to silence, staring at the two people on the stage. Qin Chuqing sat on the ground, her hand holding the spirit sword still trembling. She just felt a biting cold air from the wooden sword in Lu Chuan's hand. If she didn't dodge, she would be dead and her life and death would only last a moment. He subconsciously dodged, but was too scared to move and was knocked down by the impact of the wooden sword. A move he had never seen before. Qin Chuqing raised the corners of his mouth and was excited in his heart. Although he is only in the early stage of foundation building, the man in front of him does not understand swordsmanship at the same level as himself. Can he defeat him with his advantage in cultivation? Qin Chuqing swallowed her saliva and wanted to get up and give it a try. I fell to the ground and did not get up for more than 10 seconds. The winner of this competition is Wang Immortal Gate Lu Chuan, Shu Merong said. Shu Merong's voice was no longer as lazy as ever, but there was some joy in it. Shu Merong looked at the elder who had been proposing to break off the engagement not long ago. The white-bearded old man was still surprised that Lu Chuan could defeat Qin Chuqing. His face was full of astonishment and disbelief. This made Shu Merong feel happy. The battle for the heir apparent is over. In terms of talent, Qingqing is unparalleled in the world. In terms of family, Qingqing's fiancé is from the Lu family, a famous cultivation family. Great, Qingqing will definitely be the next leader of Spirit Sword sect. The white-bearded old man frowned and said angrily, "Never mind, this is too child's play, rematch." How could Qin Chuqing lose? There was something in his words. He didn't want to see Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing get engaged. Before Shu Merong and Wang Song could speak, Qin Chuqing on the stage spoke first. "No, I lost." Qin Chuqing stretched out her hand to Lu Chuan and motioned for Lu Chuan to pull her up. Lu Chuan did as he was told. Qin Chuqing continued, "Master Lu defeated me in an honest way. His attainments in swordsmanship are far greater than mine now. I am convinced of my defeat." The sound of the system rang in Lu Chuan's ears. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. Defeat Qin Chuqing with one move and make her surrender to the host's strength. Reward. Alchemy technique. Great accomplishment has been released. Now the host has a fiancé. How can he explain this to Lin Qingxie, Lu Qianqiu, and Su Lianlian? In the original work, the host was beaten to a pulp, and Qin Chuqing had no interest in the host at all. It's different now. Looking forward to the day when they fight together for the host. Closing square bracket quote. Maybe I will participate too. The system thought and fell into a deep sleep. Promote the growth of the host, and she will also grow. When the host reaches the great Tao, she will be free. Lu Chuan always felt that the system's voice was different from when he first awakened his memory. Occasionally it would change from a mechanical voice to a female voice, and occasionally he would make some strange remarks. Forget it, now I am also a master of alchemy, so I don't have to worry about where to find elixirs in the future. The white-bearded old man heard Qin Chuqing's words and roared. Are you saying that this marriage can't be cancelled? Impossible, absolutely impossible. I think this Lu Chuan is just in name only. He is not worthy of being the freshman chief of Immortal Gate. He is not worthy of you. Elder Tang, enough is enough. It is not what a spirit sword sect person should do, and it is not what an elder should do to comment on other disciples of other sects like this. Qin Chuqing said to the white-bearded old man, arrogantly, as if she was the elder. The white-bearded old man despises Qin Chuqing the most for being engaged to Lu Chuan, so that his apprentice will not be able to compete with Qin Chuqing as the successor to the head of the family. On the stage, Lu Chuan said calmly, whether I am worthy of being the chief of Immortal Gate is not something someone like you can judge. The white-bearded old man was completely angered. He glanced at the wooden sword in Lu Chuan's hand slyly, with a sarcastic sneer on his lips, and said, to put it bluntly, what strength do you have? Seeing that you can only take out the wooden sword in the competition, I hope Immortal Gate won't be broke already. Isn't it a spiritual sword that even the chief can't handle? Hearing this, the Immortal Gate disciples who were watching in the audience felt offended, and dissatisfaction with Tang Fei filled the entire audience. Wang Song and Xu Murong couldn't stand it anymore and were ready to speak out to defend Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan spoke again at this time. He looked at Tang Fei with a smile, as if he was looking down at a clown. Everyone can see the confidence and calmness in the raised corners of Lu Chuan's mouth. Lu Chuan took out the Ice Soul Sword from the storage ring, which was a higher grade than 9th grade and a true divine weapon passed down from ancient times. I competed with Qin Chuqing. I only used the wooden sword for fear of hurting her. This is my natal spiritual sword. The divine weapon was born, attracting the attention of everyone present. The Ice Soul Sword is completely white, with brilliance flowing around it. The white sword body seems to have condensed the essence of ice and snow. The hilt is engraved with mysterious patterns, exuding an ancient and mysterious aura. Some people couldn't help but sigh. What a level of spiritual sword this is. You can feel the biting chill even looking at it from this far away. It's really a divine weapon. Qin Chuqing raised her beautiful eyebrows and couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. Lu Chuan just said that he only used the wooden sword because he was afraid of hurting himself. I'm afraid it's true. With just an ordinary wooden sword, you can use that kind of sword energy. With this at least 8th grade spiritual sword, you might be scared to death. I have never seen such a talented sword cultivator. His understanding of the sword is much deeper than mine. Qin Chuqing wanted to fight Lu Chuan seriously. She had never felt so excited. She wanted to defeat Lu Chuan and conquer him with her own strength. Luo Li recognized that the spiritual sword in senior brother Lu Chuan's hand was the Ice Soul Sword given to him by his master. Senior brother Lu Chuan is serious. On the competition stage, Lu Chuan pointed at Tang Fei with his Ice Soul Sword. Elder Tang, how about my spirit sword? Tang Fei had to admit that the spirit sword in Lu Chuan's hand was of a higher level than the 8th grade spirit sword in his hand. He snorted coldly. It doesn't matter if you have a good sword. I don't think you have much knowledge in swordsmanship. Didn't you just rely on bluffing? Did the person's sword energy scare Qin Chuqing unexpectedly? Oh, Elder Tang, you know swords very well. How about we compare and see whether it is me, the new chief disciple of Immortal Gate, who is more accomplished in swordsmanship, or the elder who is relying on his elders to show off his skills. Lu Chuan glanced at the task issued by the system just now. Mission: defeat Tang Fei in his mastery of swordsmanship. Who makes him look down on the host and beat him to pieces. Reward: a bottle of 10,000 years of spiritual liquid. Drinking it can increase the intensity of spiritual consciousness tenfold. After hearing this, Tang Fei stepped onto the competition stage and summoned his 8th grade spirit sword. Arrogant boy, I am the famous Tang Jianxian of the Spirit Sword Sect, and you actually challenge me in swordsmanship. I want you to know today that there are mountains beyond the mountains, and there are people beyond the mountains. If you can defeat me, you can take the 8th-grade spirit sword worth hundreds of millions of spirit stones in my hand. If I win, you kid will apologize to me and cancel your engagement with Qin Chuqing. She is not something you can taint. Quote. Wang Song looked at Lu Chuan with a confused expression. He didn't know why Lu Chuan wanted to challenge Tang Fei. Tang Fei from Spirit Sword Sect is a perfect swordsman in nascent soul. Lu Chuan is just a Taoist in the early stages of foundation building. How can he compare to Tang Fei in swordsmanship? Lu Chuan then sent a message to Wang Song, Elder Wang, it's a small thing for this old guy to look down on me. He actually looks down on Wang Immortal Gate. I have confidence in my sword. Let me try it. I won't embarrass Wang Immortal Gate. Quote. A warm current surged through Wang Song's heart, hoping that although Immortal Gate could only be considered a mid-level cultivation sect now, the members were still united, but the top geniuses were missing. The appearance of Lu Chuan allowed Wang Song to see the bright future of Immortal Gate. With the younger generation who has talent, ability, and the sect's sense of honor, he will lead Immortal Gate to soar into the sky. When Shu Marong saw Lu Chuan nodding towards him, he also smiled. Crazy enough, with the charm of his youth. Wang Song and Shu Marong spoke at the same time again. The sword competition between Lu Chuan and Tang Fei has begun. The use of spiritual energy is not allowed during the competition. Spirit Sword Sect, Tang Fei. Looking at the Immortal Gate, Lu Chuan. When juniors compete with their seniors, in the world of cultivation, it is common to add the words, "Forgive me for being disrespectful to my seniors," after giving their names. Lu Chuan deliberately omitted this sentence here, as if to say that Tang Fei, an old guy like you, is not worthy of being his senior. Tang Fei could no longer control his anger, and his hand holding the sword increased a little more strength. Veins popped out on his head, and he gritted his teeth, looking very ferocious. Okay, boy, you are really crazy. Don't you like to use sword energy to bluff people? I will use sword intent, which is superior to sword energy, to defeat you. Sword intent is the sword cultivator's overall understanding of the sword and the unique understanding he has generated during his years of practicing swordsmanship. Among 1,000 sword cultivators, no more than 5 people can realize their sword intent until death. Only cultivators who combine diligence and understanding can realize it. As the elder of the Spirit Sword Sect, Tang Fei is extremely talented and naturally has his own sword intent. Tang Fei exuded a strong sword intent, and there seemed to be green buds sprouting out of the ground around him. Driven by the sword intent, the green buds grew crazily. The boundless greenery spread, and there seemed to be a big tree behind him, whirling. He lightly lifted the spiritual sword, and invisible vines grew upwards, as if they were trying to cover the sky. Don't go too far, Tang Fei. Shu Marong frowned and said angrily. Tang Fei became serious now. Sword intent hurts people. It is not as simple as bleeding and trauma, it is the ultimate method that can destroy other people's Taoist hearts. If he uses all his strength to drive the sword intent, Lu Chuan will definitely have his Taoist heart shattered. Even if he has talent and understanding, but without his true heart, he can only annihilate everyone in the end. Master Shu, I didn't use spiritual energy against the rules. This is a duel of swordsmanship, a duel between real men, and I won't let you offend me. Ha, Lu Chuan, kid, if you kneel down and beg me, I might be able to let you off guard. Quote. Elder Tang is worrying too much. In fact, I also have my own understanding of the way of swordsmanship. I accidentally got my own sword intent. I just wanted to try it out and see how my sword intent is. Sword intent is simply the understanding of kendo. Whoever has a higher understanding will have a stronger sword intent. It has nothing to do with cultivation. With his flawless sword body and thousands of duels with Lin Qingxue, who specializes in kendo, Lu Chuan's understanding of kendo has almost caught up with Lin Qingxue's. In an instant, everyone present felt a bone-chilling chill spreading around them. It was obviously close to noon, but the disciples watching the battle kept shivering. Wielding the Ice Soul Sword, the sword light of the Ice Soul Sword in Lu Chuan's hand was as bright as the reflection of ice and snow. Wherever the sword light passed, everything was sealed in the extreme cold, and time seemed to be frozen. Lu Chuan looked at Tang Fei's face, and the cold edge in his eyes seemed to cut Tang Fei into two pieces. The invisible green grass under Tang Fei's feet felt cold and quickly retracted into the ground. "This is my sword intent," called Qingshe. "Please give me some advice from Elder Tang," Lu Chuan said lightly. The kid from the foundation building stage realized his sword intent, which I didn't expect. Tang Fei was shocked when he saw the overwhelming chill around Lu Chuan. At first, he thought it was the pressure of the spirit sword, but then he realized that the chill was coming from Lu Chuan's body. This was the sword intent that Lu Chuan understood. Even if the Ice Soul Sword is replaced by the wooden sword just now, the sword intent will not be weakened at all. Needless to say, Tang Fei regained his strength, the business around him became vigorous again, and the invisible vegetation turned into sharp swords surrounding him. The entire arena was filled with green swords. Tang Fei moved and slashed at Lu Chuan with his sword. Invisible green swords in the air and on the ground rushed towards Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan held the Ice Soul Sword, and without any unnecessary movement, he blocked Tang Fei's attack with the sword and neutralized the blow. The biting cold wind blew around him, freezing all the invisible green flying swords. Tang Fei took a big step back, stretched his body, and prepared for the next attack. "Boy Lu Chuan, I didn't expect that you could prevent me from this move. Your understanding of swordsmanship is higher than that of some nascent soul sword cultivators. No wonder you became the chief sword cultivator of Immortal Gate." Tang Fei smiled and stared at the Ice Soul Sword in Lu Chuan's hand, obviously jealous that Lu Chuan had such a good natal spirit sword. He continued, "Seeing that you are so talented, I fell in love with you. I will give you one last chance. For the sake of both you and me being decent, you take the initiative to admit defeat and call off the engagement." Lu Chuan still had an indifferent expression. "Who said I am a swordsman? Besides, there is no way I will lose to you, and there is no way I can cancel this engagement." Qin Chuqing focused all her attention on Lu Chuan. When she heard this, she felt complicated. Mr. Lu met her for the first time today. Why did he say that he didn't want to break off the engagement with her? It couldn't be that he fell in love with her at first sight. But I should focus on cultivation. Before I repay the debt between Master and Spirit Sword Sect, how can I think about falling in love? If I really want to marry Lu Chuan, it may take thousands of years. This is not a delay. Someone else. What Qin Chuqing didn't know was that Lu Chuan just didn't want Tang Fei's plan to succeed, and the system would give him generous rewards after he defeated Tang Fei. The Spirit Sword Sect disciples present focused on another important point. The young man in front of him, Lu Chuan, is the new chief of Immortal Gate. He has his own sword intent with the early cultivation level of foundation building when he is less than 20 years old, not to mention he is not a sword cultivator yet. The vast majority of Spirit Sword Sect swordsmen were cultivators, and only a few of the onlookers were Taoist cultivators. They felt ashamed after hearing Lu Chuan's words. They may never awaken their sword intent in their entire lives, and they may not reach the heights of their teenage years. It's so irritating that people are so different from each other. Lu Chuan can really form a Taoist couple with the genius of his sect, Senior Sister Qin. How dare you say that, you arrogant boy? You can defend against one of my attacks, but what about 10, 100, or 1,000? Tang Fei jumped up, and the invisible green spiritual sword on the competition stage doubled. He swung the spiritual sword and slashed at Lu Chuan one after another. The swords held by the two men collided together, and the iron tools vibrated and roared. There were too many spiritual swords condensed by Tang Fei's sword intent, and Lu Chuan also activated the sword intent. There was a loud wind and a chilly air on the competition platform. The green spiritual swords turned into flowers, plants and trees were frozen and fell to the ground one by one and turned into nothingness. Off the stage, Luo Li clenched his fists and kept looking at Lu Chuan on the competition stage. He was so nervous that he didn't even feel the nails pricking his slender hands. On the stage, Lu Chuan had seen enough of Tang Fei's sword intent. Tang Fei's attainments in swordsmanship were not as good as his own, let alone Lin Qingshui's. Any further comparison would be a waste of time. Thank you, Elder Tang, for your advice, but I have seen enough. Let's end it quickly. Lu Chuan clenched the Ice Soul Sword in his hand and swung it towards Tang Fei with lightning speed. Tang Fei focused on attacking, but he never expected that Lu Chuan would have the energy to fight back. He was injured by Lu Chuan's Ice Soul Sword, and the Taoist robe on his arm was cut to pieces, causing blood to flow out. Most of the invisible flowers and plants on the stage disappeared in an instant. "You can actually hurt me. I, the perfect nascent soul," was heard by a junior from the foundation building stage. Tang Fei covered the wound, looked at Lu Chuan's face, opened his mouth, and asked in disbelief. "Elder Tang, what we are competing is purely swordsmanship, it has nothing to do with cultivation. I'm not as good as you with the sword. Don't be ridiculous. I have been practicing swordsmanship for hundreds of years. How old are you?" A disdainful smile appeared on Tang Fei's face, and the sword intent around him flourished again. Invisible flowers and trees grew wildly, and the competition stage was covered by weeds as tall as a person and various large trees. The scene that should have been full of life and vitality unexpectedly looked messy and deserted. The green energy turned into murderous intention, and countless green spiritual swords rushed towards Lu Chuan in an instant. "Stop!" Wang Song shouted and rushed towards Lu Chuan, trying to block the blow for him. "Tang Fei, how dare you!" Shu Merong took out the 9th grade defense spirit treasure and prepared to throw it towards Lu Chuan. Injured by Tang Fei's blow, Lu Chuan's path of cultivation was over. Lu Chuan is dead, how to explain to Zhang Junhai? He looks forward to Immortal Gate's future and is Qin Chuqing's fiancé. Lu Chuan knew what kind of villain Tang Fei was, and was already prepared to swing the Ice Soul Sword at Tang Fei. The next moment, the whole audience felt the biting cold wind, and the competition stage seemed to have turned into a frozen continent. They could see that the continent was filled with the smell of ice and snow, the rivers were swallowed by the ice, and all kinds of things were on the uneven snowfields. Icicles stand tall, and the only greenery on the ice sheet is covered by a steady stream of ice and snow. Tang Fei suddenly spit out a mouthful of red blood and knelt down in front of Lu Chuan, using only his spirit sword for support. There were no flowers or plants on the competition stage. The originally vibrant tree behind Tang Fei no longer had any green color at all, and its branches were covered with crystal clear icicles. As Tang Fei spit out blood again, even the tree trunk disappeared. Gray clouds began to gather above the tournament stage, and the sky became dark. Snowflakes fell and the whole place was silent. In early summer, snowflakes began to fall in the Immortal Gate. The snowflakes fell on the lush trees, looking so abrupt. Lu Chuan put away the Ice Soul Sword and said condescendingly to Tang Fei, who looked exhausted and full of weakness. "Your sword intent is not as good as Qingshe, your swordsmanship is even worse than Qingshe. Are you dissatisfied?" Quote, How could I lose? How could I? Tang Fei raised his head and looked up at Lu Chuan, his eyes lost their luster, and his black hair turned white in an instant. He wanted to say something, but was injured by Lu Chuan's tyrannical sword intent. The sword heart was damaged. He felt empty in his heart and weak, and could only moan sadly. All the disciples in the audience fell into silence. Wang Song and Shu Merong froze on the spot, maintaining their posture of running towards Lu Chuan. Snowflakes fell on Tang Fei's white hair, and his wrinkled face showed a solemn and tired expression, like an old tree that was about to die. Seeing Tang Fei kneeling on the ground dejectedly, everyone present knew what this meant. Elder nascent soul of the Spirit Sword sect, in the swordsmanship he was proud of, was defeated by Lu Chuan, a newcomer from Immortal Gate who had only been practicing for half a year. The fierce sword intent spread out from Lu Chuan's position on the competition stage, and many disciples in the audience could feel the courage and pressure of Lu Chuan's sword intent. A chill ran through his bones, and the cold air condensed in his throat as he breathed in. Many disciples who had an understanding of swordsmanship subconsciously put their hands on the scabbard, trying to resist Lu Chuan's sword intent. Taoist cultivators who did not understand swords fell to the ground and fainted. 10 seconds later. "The victory has been decided," Shu Merong said seriously. "The winner of this swordsmanship competition is Lu Chuan from Immortal Gate." Wang Song subconsciously used the lion's roar skill, and his words could not hide his excitement and excitement. Wang Song's voice spread throughout the competition arena, awakening the pride and passion in the hearts of the Immortal Gate elders and disciples who were present. "Lu Chuan, Chief, Genius!" Warm shouts swept in like a storm, expressing praise and joy for Lu Chuan's victory. The system sound rang in Lu Chuan's ears. This time, even the mechanical sound was gone. It was a pure female voice. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, defeating Tang Fei on the sword. Reward: a bottle of 10,000 years spiritual liquid. Drinking it can increase the strength of spiritual consciousness tenfold, has been placed in the storage ring. The host is so awesome, I'm almost obsessed with you. Quote closing square bracket. The sound of the system is sweet and pleasant, like crisp silver bells. Lu Chuan didn't realize for a moment that this was the sound of the system. The system knew what Lu Chuan was thinking and returned to a mechanical female voice. She forgot to use a falsetto. Host, let's deal with the matter at hand first, I'll withdraw first. Luo Li, who was watching the battle, slowly exhaled. His petite body was no longer tense. A feeling of relaxation spread in his heart, and the irritability and uneasiness in his heart also disappeared. It's great that brother Lu Chuan can win without getting hurt. This shows that the senior brother's understanding of swordsmanship is higher than that of the elder spirit sword sect. No wonder I have never won a single swordsmanship contest with him, and I did not lose unjustly. But why does senior brother always challenge me? Even after winning, he was still giving me advice. Could it be that senior brother likes? Luo Li gave up his random thoughts and realized that his senior brother was just using himself as an excuse to find his master. My master is the Taoist companion of senior brother Lu Chuan. So Lu Chuan is not only his senior brother, but also his senior. In the eyes of senior brother Lu Chuan, he is a close junior brother and a disciple of a Taoist companion. If master were present, seeing senior brother Lu Chuan win the competition, he would definitely go on stage to care about senior brother as soon as possible, but he could only stare here. Luo Li couldn't bear this kind of gap. She passed through the boiling crowd, stepped on the spiritual sword and flew towards her mountain gate. Master has prepared the foundation building pill for himself. He will advance to the foundation building today and then practice sword practice. Take revenge as soon as possible, and then you can reveal your identity and stick to brother Lu Chuan. On the stage, Lu Chuan took away the spirit sword that Tang Fei used to support his body. Tang Fei lay forward, his whole body in close contact with the ground. Seeing this scene, the two elders of Spirit Sword Sect quickly flew to the competition stage, preparing to attack Lu Chuan. How dare you, Shuzi! They were members of a faction that supported Tang Fei's disciples to become the next Spirit Sword Sect leader, and they did not want to see Tang Fei be humiliated. The two were blocked by Wang Song and Shu Murong, who shouted to Lu Chuan, "Put down the spirit sword, it doesn't belong to you." Lu Chuan was amused by the two middle-aged men. "Why isn't it mine?" Elder Tang Fei said before the competition with me that as long as I win, this spiritual sword will be given to me. Is it possible that Elder Tang Fei lying on the ground is the winner this time? Quote. When the paralyzed Tang Fei heard this, he was fine but was so angry that he vomited blood. Puff! Tang Fei covered his stinging chest. Just now, his sword heart was damaged, but now his Dao heart was damaged due to anger, and it might be difficult to recover. Elder Tang. The two middle-aged men said to Shu Murong with worried expressions on their faces, "Master Shu, are you just going to watch Tang Fei being bullied by a junior? Please let me educate this boy for Zhang Junhai." Quote. Shu Murong was having fun, and she was happy to see Tang Fei injured. Who told this beast to show off his grandson every day, and said that his grandson was more suitable to be the heir to the head of the family. His grandson looked like a playboy with some talent, and I heard he had evil intentions towards Qingqing. Tang Fei looked like a bereaved dog, and Shu Murong couldn't be happier. But when he heard the three words Zhang Junhai, Shu Murong was shocked. The ignorant elder in front of him wanted to educate his disciples on behalf of a dead ghost, and the person being educated was still Shu Murong's favored disciple's fiancé. Shu Mu couldn't tolerate this, so she put down her hand that stopped the middle-aged elder. "Thank you very much, Master Shu Gaoyi. I will." "Master Shu, what are you doing? Put me down." Shu Murong lifted the middle-aged elder like a rabbit and threw him onto the open ground. Tang Fei's skills are not as good as others. If you lose, you lose. Where did you get all the nonsense? Tang Fei can't compare to Lu Chuan in swordsmanship. How can you, half-assed ones, compare to him? Lu Chuan is now Qin Chuqing's fiancé. The Spirit Sword Sect is a member of the Communist Party of China. How can you behave like an elder? Shu Marong still looked lazy, but his words were full of unshakable power. Lu Chuan, put away the spirit sword. You deserve it. The competition is exciting. You are more talented with the sword than anyone present. Shu Marong continued. Thank you, Master Shu. Lu Chuan did as he was told and put away the 8th grade spirit sword. The 8th grade spirit sword cannot be made by contemporary swordsmiths. This sword is also a semi-divine weapon passed down from ancient times and is priceless. It's a good choice to use it as a backup sword. Storage ring. Without anyone following him, the Ice Soul Sword suddenly flew up from the ground and flew straight towards the 8th grade spirit sword that had just been put away. Stopped next to the 8th grade spirit sword, and after a moment, the 8th grade spirit sword disappeared. A little girl about 11 or 12 years old suddenly appeared and sat on the Ice Soul Sword. I was attracted by the fragrance and woke up. The little girl stretched, opened her clear eyes, and licked her red cherry mouth. It tastes good, but I'm still very hungry and want to eat something else. The little girl looked around and found that she was in a different space, with a smile on her delicate and white face. Do I finally have a master? Well, there are many people outside. Let's talk to the master when there are fewer people. I'm so sleepy. The little girl disappeared, and the Ice Soul Sword fell where the 8th grade spirit sword should be. Lu Chuan didn't know this. Outside, the spirit sword sect disciples were all stunned. Shu Marong, who was extremely protective of Qin Chuqing, could even be said to be overprotective of Qin Chuqing, actually publicly admitted that Lu Chuan was Qin Chuqing's fiancé in front of so many people. The elders of Spirit Sword sect also became interested in Lu Chuan. In their minds, this was the first time in thousands of years that Shu Marong had praised someone else. Even her direct disciple Qin Chuqing had never been praised in public. I hope Immortal Gate Chief Lu Chuan will achieve great things in the future. With the identity of Qin Chuqing's fiancé, the support of the flourishing Spirit Sword sect and the profound hope of the Immortal Gate, he might be able to unify the Eastern continent and become the human sovereign. The future of the world of cultivation may be in Lu Chuan's hands. They are about to witness history. Shu Marong turned to Qin Chuqing with a malicious smile. Qing, you must have lost too. Before the competition, I promised that the winner could make a request. Why don't I ask you what your future husband's request will be? Qin Chuqing approached Lu Chuan with steady steps, trying to stay calm. His handsome brows were furrowed, his eyes flickered slightly, and his lips pursed, looking very unnatural. Although Qin Chuqing tried her best to maintain her calmness and composure, she could not hide her uneasiness and confusion. I don't know how to speak. What should I say? Today she came to break off the engagement. She wanted to win the competition in the name of competition. Then he said that he could marry him only if he defeated him, but he lost the competition. The engagement cannot be cancelled, and now I still owe Mr. Lu a request. Shu Marong could see something unnatural on Qin Chuqing's face. Qin Chuqing's expression has not changed much since she accepted her as her direct disciple. If she has an expression, it is because she dislikes her for being too close and worries about her too much. It can make Qing show a different expression, which is interesting. Shu Marong thought to himself. Master Lu, you won the previous competition. I will agree to your request. I will never break my promise. Ah, Master, what are you doing? As he spoke, Shu Marong picked up Qin Chuqing's hand and put it on Lu Chuan's hand. What's wrong? I can't cancel the engagement. Let's get along well from today on. Shu Marong smiled mischievously. Wang Song saw this scene from the side and looked up at the sky to calm down. Senior sister Shu, why is she still like this after so many years? There might be something going on between her and the head brother. With the relationship between Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing, the exchanges between the two will definitely become more frequent. Wang Song thought. Wait a minute, Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing are engaged, what about his daughter? Looking at all the decent young talents, only Lu Chuan is worthy of Yan, but Yan's character of not competing or competing, how can she possibly compete with Qin Chuqing? No, while the two are not married yet, let Yan needs to take the initiative. From that day on, Wang Song would praise Lu Chuan in front of Wang Yuyan every day, which made Wang Yuyan extremely sensitive to the word, Lu Chuan. This is all a story for later. The perspective returned to Qin Chuqing. The girl who had not yet grown into an empress lowered her head slightly, her eyelashes trembling, and her uncertain gaze was hidden in her cold eyes. She bit her red lips gently, and a blush appeared on her delicate cheeks. She had never been in such close contact with a man. It could be said that no one except Shumarong could get close to her. The experience of begging on the streets when she was young and being treated maliciously by countless people every day made her close her heart long ago. No friends, no relatives, it doesn't matter. As long as Qin Chuching has the sword in her hand, as long as she becomes a top expert, everything will be possible. But why is my heart beating fast and my cheeks feeling hot now? What is this strange feeling? Normally, Shumarong would definitely say, "Aren't you a girl who is just afraid of strangers and doesn't know how to get along with men?" But now, Shumarong silently cheered for Lu Chuan in her heart. "Lu Chuan, boy, hurry up and say why don't we get married tomorrow?" Ching Ching happens to be in a shy state, so if you just say something, she will definitely nod. Qin Chuching tried her best to return to her normal voice, but people could still hear her inner uneasiness and nervousness. "So, Mr. Lu, do you have any requests?" Seeing Qin Chuching's shy look, Lu Chuan thought that in the original work she would be the cold and proud empress who accomplished the great cause of unification. This contrast made Lu Chuan feel that the girl in front of him was very cute. Subconsciously, she squeezed Qin Chuching's hand. There are thick calluses on the delicate and smooth palms. These are records of Qin Chuching's hard work. The future Empress Qin Chuching does not rely solely on talent to crush her all the way like in the original work. Her persistence and struggle behind the scenes are incomparable. People know. In the original work, Luo Li will be the one who understands her. The two got to know each other at the picking festival, and then they shared hardships. After that, their relationship quickly became good. When Luo Li was suppressed and lacked training resources, Qin Chuching would use her identity as the chief of the Spirit Sword sect to send training resources to Luo Li. "There is plenty of this, just take it. Your cultivation is much behind me. If you don't catch up quickly, I'm waiting to compete with you." In every sparring session, the two of them will try their best. After the sparring session, the two of them lay side by side, looking at the surrounding scenery, smiling and saying things they would only say to each other. "Chief Qin, I'm expecting Immortal Gate to be targeted by Lu Chuan again. He is really not a human being. He does whatever he wants just because he is the direct descendant of the leader." Luo Li would say that it was not easy for Immortal Gate to be ostracized and targeted. Qin Chuching would comfort Luo Li with gentle and warm words. "In this genius competition, I came first again. But the elders of the Spirit Sword sect only said that I was defeated by my talent. What do they know?" Qin Chuching would tell that in the eyes of others, his achievements were all due to his talent. Luo Li would say, "I understand you," and the depression in the girl's heart was relieved. As time went by, Luo Li became the only soft spot in the cold and arrogant girl's heart, but in the original novel, she was with Luo Li at the end of the novel. The Empress was not willing to share a Taoist companion with others, so even though she expressed her feelings very early, she did not stay with Luo Li. Lu Chuan didn't want Luo Li to get Qin Chuching's help. Although he had hidden cultivation, it was better for the protagonist's younger brother to have lower cultivation, so that he could seize the opportunity more easily. "I will snatch Luo Li's opportunity away." Is Qin Chuching also considered the protagonist's opportunity? Lu Chuan spoke slowly. "My request is very simple. If you have something to hold in your heart from now on, you can only say it to me alone." The disciples and elders present were confused for a moment. They had been looking forward to this for so long, and now they are here. "She's here to break off the engagement. Lu Chuan, why don't you give her some color?" "I understand." Although Qin Chuching didn't know why Lu Chuan made this request, she still nodded in agreement. Lu Chuan's voice came up again. "Also, you and I just have an engagement, and we may not be able to get married. Don't get emotional then." There was silence. Shumarong was originally planning to celebrate his apprentice's wedding, but he never expected that Lu Chuan would say such a thing. Does he mean that Qing Qing is not worthy of being his Taoist companion? In Shumarong's eyes, Qin Chuching has excellent cultivation talent and is diligent and hardworking. If she continues like this, she might be able to complete the unification of Dongzhou and become the first empress in the ages. Although Lu Chuan is the legitimate son of a great family and is quite knowledgeable in swordsmanship, He is still in the early stages of foundation building and his talent and training can only be considered above average. In the world of cultivation where strength is paramount, Lu Chuan is the one who can surpass Qin Chuqing. There was a little anger in her heart. Xu Merong had always been straightforward with people close to her. Lu Chuan was engaged to her apprentice and was also Zhang Junhai's apprentice. Xu Merong wanted to say something to her. PFF'd. Clear laughter broke the silence of the audience. It's Qin Chuqing. Her red lips parted slightly, revealing white teeth, her curved eyebrows were raised, and there were two shallow smile lines hidden in the corners of her eyes, revealing a hint of playfulness and agility that belonged to her age. The sweet laughter echoed in the air, and all the disciples and elders present looked at Qin Chuqing, wondering what had happened to her. Mr. Lu, you are such an interesting person. You said this just after we made an engagement. I don't know whether you are straightforward or uninformed. We just have an engagement, and we are not necessarily married yet. The smile is hard to hide, and the beautiful face coupled with a faint smile is like a spring breeze, making everyone feel relaxed and happy. The anger in Xu Merong's heart was replaced by doubt. She had never seen Qin Chuqing smile before. This was the first time since she was brought back to the Spirit Sword sect. It seems that what Lu Chuan just said is still a plus in his apprentice's mind. This is his first step into Qingqing's heart. Okay, let's say goodbye today. Qin Chuqing smiled sweetly at Lu Chuan. I won't lose to you again at the picking festival in 2 days. I'm looking forward to it. After saying that, Qin Chuqing left the competition stage and took Xu Merong back to the Spirit Sword sect. Qin Chuqing's last smile stunned the disciples present. This is a heart-pounding feeling. Senior sister Qin is my first love. Give up. I have a fiancé. That fiancé just crushed Spirit Sword sect's Tang Fei and Kendo. Are you confident that you can beat him? I wonder what's wrong. I really learned a lot today. Senior sister Qin, who has always been known for being cold, arrogant and invincible, actually has such a tender side. You're right, but I just pushed Lu Chuan to win. 30 spirit stones turned into 300 spirit stones. As soon as this disciple spoke, the disciples who followed Ji Yuming and supported Lu Chuan became excited again. The god of harvest bless you. Lu Chuan is really my idol. Ji Yuming hummed and said, I told you a long time ago that brother Lu can't lose. Come on, I'm treating you today. Just tell me where you want to spend money. From today on, the news that Lu Chuan and Qin Chuqing are engaged has been widely spread among the orthodox sects. Wang Immortal Gate, whose background is unfathomable, the most powerful spirit sword sect today, and the leading disciples of the two sects are engaged. The future of decency lies in the hands of these two people. In Spirit Sword sect, countless young talents who had a crush on Qin Chuqing had no choice but to drink to drown their sorrows after learning the information. In Immortal Gate, the fairy sisters who had a crush on Lu Chuan all cried and became red-eyed at night. After the competition with Qin Chuqing was over, Wang Song directly called Lu Chuan and Luo Li to look at the Immortal Gate treasure house. It was agreed before that a grand prize would be given to the 3 people who worked hard at Azure Rock Town, and it was fulfilled today. For Su Lianlian's sake, I will replenish it for her when she comes out of seclusion. It's up to you to choose. As long as it's not the 9th grade spirit weapon and the Junzong spirit treasure, you can take whatever you want. Wandering in the treasure house, a variety of high-quality weapons are laid out, scrolls of secret techniques are densely arranged, spirit weapons containing the essence of heaven and earth are placed neatly, showing a mysterious and profound atmosphere. Luo Li was dazzled, thinking about the weapon he didn't have, so he picked the 8th grade spirit sword. Lu Chuan went to the exercise scroll area first and picked out an inconspicuous tattered scroll. Lu Chuan, are you sure you want this? Wang Song glanced at the scroll in Lu Chuan's hand, frowned and said, what you have in your hand is a technique for cultivating spiritual consciousness. Although it is extremely powerful, the technique only has the upper half. The lower part has been lost. Lu Chuan replied, Elder Wang, I just want this. This technique is a spiritual consciousness technique practiced by the Luo Li Society in the original work. Like Evergreen Ju, it was created by an ancient power, but has been lost. The spiritual sense of modern cultivators can only be used to detect the surrounding situation, but by practicing the techniques in their hands, the spiritual sense will become extremely powerful. After practicing to the great accomplishment, they can even kill people with their thoughts. The second half of the technique is hidden in the central mountain range, and with the harvest festival around the corner, it's the perfect time to get it. The direct disciples of the head senior brother are just different. Wang Song lowered his head and thought. Lu Chuan, pick what you want from the treasure house and take it away. The complete version of Evergreen Jew, given by the ancestor, was your contribution. In the morning, you helped Immortal Gate rise in the competition with Qin Chuqing. Face, it's given to you, but don't tell others. Wang Song glanced at Luo Li. Luo Li understood what he meant and nodded to indicate that he would not say anything. Since it was something good for senior brother Lu Chuan, of course I wouldn't say it. Luo Li looked at Lu Chuan, and Lu Chuan smiled back. You are still a cute and obedient little junior brother. If you don't hate me when I take away all your opportunities, I will give you some benefits. Lu Chuan thought. Lu Chuan picked a defensive 8th-grade spirit treasure and planned to give it to Lu Qianqiu next time he meets her. Weak women without cultivation still need some means of self-defense in the world of cultivation. Her current alchemy technique has arrived at great accomplishment, and she also needs to arrange for face preservation pill and life extension pill. Okay, let's leave the treasure house after picking. 2 days later there will be a decent picking festival. All decent sects will send disciples below gold core to participate. The highest score will receive high-grade gold core elixirs and tens of thousands of spirit stones. You two should prepare well and strive for a good ranking. Luo Li and Lu Chuan agreed and went back to the mountain gate to prepare. As the sky darkened, Luo Li swallowed the foundation building pill and was naturally promoted to the foundation building stage. Lu Chuan returned to his room, opened the storage ring and wanted to take out the 8th-grade spirit sword he got from Tang Fei to play with. After spending 10 minutes without finding the 8th-grade spirit sword, Lu Chuan unexpectedly discovered that the 5th-grade spirit sword he had used to deal with Zuo Tianya had also disappeared. Why is my spirit sword gone? Lu Chuan scratched his head. At this moment, a petite girl wearing weird clothes appeared in front of Lu Chuan. The oversized white dress obviously didn't fit her. The slight bulge in her chest couldn't support the dress at all. It fell straight down, and her legs and feet were blocked by the hem of the skirt. Lu Chuan took a look at her fair chest. The girl opened her mouth wide and let out a lazy yawn, her delicate and rosy face filled with innocence and innocence. Master, I'm hungry. I need some food. The girl muttered and rushed towards Lu Chuan. Spirit sword sect. After a day and night of treatment, Tang Fei barely recovered enough to be able to speak. Longer, you must avenge me. Immortal Gate Lu Chuan is very vicious and has destroyed my Taoist heart. I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to make progress in my cultivation. Long Lin held Tang Fei's trembling hand and said, Master, don't worry. Although we won't allow death fights during the picking ceremony, there is still no problem in destroying people's dantian. Although Lu Chuan is quite proficient in swordsmanship, it is still in the early stages of foundation building after all. The disciple suddenly realized this in the past 2 days. We are already in the middle stage of foundation building. If we avoid sword fighting and use Taoism to deal with Lu Chuan, I believe I can destroy him. As expected of my beloved disciple, you must avenge me. If you miss this opportunity, I don't know when it will be next time. Lu Chuan is looking for the chief of Immortal Gate or Qin Chuqing's fiancé. He will definitely get it. Fully protected. Long Lin nodded. He remembered Lu Chuan's 2 revenges for destroying his master's Taoist heart and taking away Qin Chuqing from him. Wait for death, Lu Chuan. Head peak in the middle of the night. A little girl who looked to be only 11 or 12 years old was holding Lu Chuan. Her young arms were wrapped around Lu Chuan's neck, her nimble legs were wrapped around Lu Chuan's waist, and her slender hands were inserted into her clothes and wandering around Lu Chuan's back. Master smells so good. The little girl couldn't help but lick the little cherry mouth with force. She leaned close to Lu Chuan's ear and said softly, I really want to taste the taste of Master. Lu Chuan has practiced bone-tempering kung fu to the great accomplishment. If he focuses on defense, his physical body can even rival the 9th-grade spirit treasure. Now he was hugged by the little girl and it hurt. I'm gonna start now. The little girl stuck out her small tongue, and the moment the tip of her tongue touched Lu Chuan's neck, his neck began to bleed. The moist and tender tongue licked the bright red blood, as if tasting the treasures of the world. There was something wrong with this girl. There was no warmth on her body, she was lighter than a feather, and just a slight touch could make Lu Chuan's tyrannical body bleed. Are you the sword spirit of the Ice Soul Sword? Lu Chuan guessed. Owner. The little girl was not ready to stop. She smacked her lips and said, Master, you are so smart. Although it didn't matter if he lost a little blood, the little girl's gasping made Lu Chuan feel a little unnatural. Lu Chuan suddenly exerted his strength and broke away from Sword Spirit's embrace. The little girl fell to the ground and raised her head. Her clear and bright eyes revealed helplessness and pity. Her eyes were red and she could cry at any time. She looks like a little girl who was bullied, which makes people feel affectionate. It's no use pretending to be pitiful. I won't let you drink my blood anymore. Lu Chuan said as he bought a dozen 5th-grade spirit swords in the Point store, took them out and handed them to the little girl. My blood is just fragrant. But it can't fill my stomach. I think Lu Chuan smells sweet because Lu Chuan has a flawless sword body and excellent sword bones. To the Ice Soul Sword Spirit who has been hungry for tens of thousands of years, he is like honey that only satisfies his hunger but does not satisfy his hunger. When the little girl saw the spirit sword, her disappointment swept away, and her eyes seemed to shine. Master, can you give me these? Lu Chuan nodded. Wow, Master, that's great, I love you. Sword Spirit said, and wanted to take the opportunity to hug Lu Chuan and drink a few mouthfuls of blood, but Lu Chuan stopped him and sat on the ground with his buttocks. Puffing up her cute cheeks, she glared at Lu Chuan, then picked up the 2 spiritual swords, chewing on them like bread, one on the left and one on the right. Eat leisurely, don't get choked. Lu Chuan sat in front of the sword spirit and looked at the little girl. So why did you wake up now? It's been a while since I got the Ice Soul Sword. Devouring the spirit sword is not what a little girl should be like at all. I don't know. In the morning, I suddenly felt someone calling me. Master, guess what? I just woke up and found delicious food next to me. 8th-grade spirit sword. Whose sword spirit can eat it together? Such good stuff. The call she's talking about is Lu Chuan's sword intent. Recalling the delicious taste of the 8th-grade spirit sword, the little girl's mouth drooled. So that spirit sword was also eaten by you. Lu Chuan was already angry in his heart, and the 8th-grade spirit sword he had just obtained was gone immediately. The Ice Soul Sword is already Lu Chuan's natal spiritual sword. As a sword spirit, the little girl can feel Lu Chuan's emotional fluctuations. Master, don't be angry, I'm very powerful. With me here, Master is like having an extra thug. Not long ago, I killed a demon Dao from the land of gods by myself. Oh, I'm very powerful. Lu Chuan was irritated and reached out to grab the little girl's ears. You said not long ago. How long ago? Can your current strength compare with that then? It hurts. It didn't last long, tens of thousands of years ago. As for my strength, as long as the master gives me delicious food, I can recover. Just give me a few hundred more. 9th grade a spiritual sword will do. Also, I don't actually look like this. I became so small because I was too hungry. As long as I eat enough, I can turn into a big sister. Being able to kill land gods is indeed very powerful, but where to find high-grade spiritual swords? An 8th-grade spiritual sword in the Point store can cost tens of thousands of points. It is unrealistic to go to Wongsong or Zhongjunhai to get it. You can't steal other people's swords. Thinking that the picking festival will start tomorrow, maybe someone will really cause trouble for me, and then I can snatch their swords and use them as food for the sword spirit. Since you are a villain, this is what you should do. When the little girl saw Lu Chuan staring at her, she thought that Lu Chuan liked her like this. She said, actually, Master, if you like a little girl like me, I can stay the same. Lu Chuan heard a dark line. After you finish eating, hurry back to the Ice Soul Sword and stop talking so much nonsense. Lu Chuan practiced all night. Early the next morning, Lu Chuan gathered at the gate of Immortal Gate. Parked at the door were 2 huge bird-shaped spirit beasts, about 10 meters tall and with wingspans of 20 to 30 meters. Senior brother Lu Chuan, you are here. Luo Li happily ran to Lu Chuan. I have reached the foundation building stage, and now my cultivation level is the same as that of senior brother. It's amazing. As expected of you, Lu Chuan boasted casually. Detected that the protagonist Luo Li felt ashamed. Villain points, 1,000 points have been received. Remaining points, 6,500 points. What's going on? Just when Lu Chuan was about to ask about the system, Wang Song, who was riding on the big bird, called the two of them to him. The two over there, they haven't come up yet. Get ready to leave for the Central Mountains. In midair, Lu Chuan, sitting on the spirit beast, looked around. A few hundred miles east of Immortal Gate is the Central Mountain Range, which is rich in spiritual grass. The endless mountains are covered with various flowers, plants and trees, and the roars of wild spirit beasts can be heard in midair. Like a primeval forest, in about an hour, everyone at Immortal Gate arrived at the meeting point. There were 10 people participating in the picking ceremony at Immortal Gate. Lu Chuan only knew Luo Li, Sima Dong, Wang Yuexin, and the other 6 were seniors from the foundation building late stage. After a while, all the decent people participating in the picking festival arrived. Seeing this, the elder in charge announced, "The picking festival is about to begin. Let me explain the rules of the picking festival. This time the picking festival lasts for 1 month. The location is the entire Central Mountain Range. The participating disciples must pick mature spiritual herbs in the mountains during this month. They will gather here 1 month later to evaluate the points of the picked spiritual herbs. The basis for evaluation is the grade and quantity of spiritual grass. During this month, any method can be used as long as it does not kill anyone. Everyone present is a rising star below the gold core level, the future of the sect and the hope of the righteous path. We hope to achieve 2 purposes with this harvest festival. One is to pick mature spiritual herbs, and the other is to train your practical abilities. I hope you can engage in intrigue and fight to your heart's content without dying." Quote. Chapter 71. This new generation is really strong. When the elder in charge of the Spirit Sword sect announced the rules, a bald elder said, "Disciples participating in the picking festival are required to be under 50 years old and have a strength below the gold core level." The bald elder took a quick look and found that among the 20 sects present, the 200 disciples selected to participate in the picking ceremony were almost all in the mid-stage of the foundation building, the late stage of the foundation building, and only a few in the early stage of the foundation building. The long-bearded elder touched his beard and replied, "Ha ha ha, this picking festival will definitely be exciting. Maybe someone can break the record. There are a few peerless geniuses here." He looked at Lu Chuan, who was looking at the Immortal Gate, and then moved his eyes to Qin Chuqing, who was in the Spirit Sword sect, and then stopped for a moment at the other people, all of whom he considered talented people. The elder of the Spirit Sword sect standing directly in front continued, "After you enter the Central Mountain Range, the spiritual herbs you pick must be placed in a specific storage ring, and the private storage ring cannot be used. This will make it easier for others to snatch the spiritual grass, and you will not lose your own things, and you will not steal the spiritual grass. There is a sound transmission talisman in a specific storage ring. If someone can't persist or wants to end it early, he can use it to contact the elders outside the mountain range." Quote. All the disciples present received a black storage ring. The rewards for this picking festival are huge. The first place will receive the Peerless Grade Gold Core Elixir with pill pattern, the 2nd to 10th place will receive the Ordinary Gold Core Elixir, the 11th to 13th place will receive 2 spiritual herbs needed to refine the elixir. Quote. Hearing what Elder Spirit Sword sect said, the whole place became excited. From the foundation building stage to the gold core stage, it is impossible to achieve it without taking the promotion elixir. The first place can even get the supreme grade elixir. Those present are all highly qualified disciples. As long as they take it at the foundation building late stage, they will 100% advance to the gold core stage. Even the disciples present were all outstanding freshmen in their respective sects, and they were extremely excited when they heard this, with their eyes revealing their desire for a high ranking. Lu Chuan only thought they were noisy. He doesn't even need the elixir to advance to the gold core stage, because he is now in the gold core stage. Not so eager to rank high or low. He came to participate in the picking festival in order to obtain the lost lower half of the spiritual consciousness skills, as well as the dragon race inheritance hidden in the mountains. There must be a lot of evil cultivators among the people present. There are evil cultivators among the participating disciples and elders of the organization. They will make big moves in the last few days of the picking festival, and the legacy of dragon race will be revealed. In the original work, it was Luo Li who received the dragon race inheritance alone, and then he was easily recognized by the monster race in the subsequent plot. The sound of the system sounded, a clear and sweet female voice. Luo Li's honor belongs to the host. Mission: get first place in the picking festival. Reward: improve the cultivation level by a small amount. Closing square bracket. Lu Chuan suddenly felt that since he had participated, he had to take it seriously. How could he be worthy of himself if he didn't get first place? Host: the elder said that the personal storage ring cannot be used, but in fact the system space can still be used. The host will not be discovered if he collects high-level spiritual herbs and puts them in the system space. Closing square bracket. The system wanted Lu Chuan to be promoted faster so that he could have a physical body as soon as possible, so he reminded. Also, gold core monks can take barrier-breaking pills to improve their level, and the host can pick spiritual grass to make pills. It was an unexpected surprise that the system space was available, and I could hide the rare spiritual herbs. Barrier-breaking pill is a commonly used pill for gold core monks who want to break through in a short time. Each person can only take one pill. Taking too much will be useless. Lu Chuan calculated that if he could find the spiritual grass for refining the barrier-breaking pill in the mountains, he would spend some time refining it and take it, plus the system rewards. In this picking festival, I was able to advance to 2 stages, from gold core early stage to gold core late stage. Glancing at Luo Li, who was still in the early stages of foundation building not far away, Lu Chuan sighed in his heart, far ahead. Qin Chuqing had long known the rules and rewards of the picking festival. She kept looking at the immortal gate to see if Lu Chuan had participated. Qin Chuqing, who had never lost since she entered the journey of cultivation, lost to Lu Chuan in the competition 2 days ago, and the idea of refusing to admit defeat grew wildly in her heart. For the past 2 days, she had been practicing without sleep or food, recalling Lu Chuan's sword intent, and trying to figure out the secrets of it. 2 days of practice was worth the effect of the previous 2 or 3 months. Her understanding of kendo has improved a lot. This time, I won't lose to you again. Qin Chuqing found Lu Chuan, who was at the end of the team looking at the immortal gate, and murmured with a smile, I accept the first place. You must win the second place. Quote. Her beautiful face and confident smile make her look particularly charming, as if the whole world is under her control. Long Lin felt pricked in his heart when he saw that his sweetheart kept looking towards the immortal gate. He guessed that Qin Chuqing was looking at Lu Chuan. He planned to follow Lu Chuan after a while, beat him up first, and then snatch the spiritual grass he got in a dozen days. Seeing that the disciples were all excited, the elder of the Spirit Sword sect, who was responsible for announcing the rules, nodded with satisfaction. The picking ceremony will now officially begin. Everyone prepares the necessary items and puts them in the storage ring they just got. The disciples present responded one after another, full of fighting spirit and confidence, and were ready to step into the central mountains. Senior brother Lu Chuan, the central mountain range is very dangerous. If you encounter difficult troubles, please put your personal safety first and don't try to be strong for others. Luo Li trotted to Lu Chuan's side and warned. Luo Li was petite and only reached Lu Chuan's neck. From a comparison, he was obviously on the weak side, but he spoke seriously to Lu Chuan. This protagonist is really cute sometimes. Having been robbed of an opportunity, you still have to worry about yourself as a villain. Lu Chuan laughed when he heard this and reached out to touch Luo Li's long black hair. You are still worried about me? In which competition have you ever defeated me? Just take care of yourself. One hand pinched Luo Li's face, and the extremely delicate face became rounded, with soft and smooth skin, making Lu Chuan unable to believe that this was a man's face. He asked jokingly, how do you take care of yourself? Your hair and face are so delicate, just like the pretty boy in the drama. Luo Li knocked off Lu Chuan's hand and turned around quickly, leaving a small silhouette of Lu Chuan's back. I don't have time to take care of my appearance, it's all natural. Senior brother, please take care of yourself, I'm leaving first. After saying that, he ran into the forest as if running away. Detected that the protagonist Luo Li felt ashamed. Villain points, 2,000 points have been received. Remaining points, 8,500 points. Making sure to keep some distance from Lu Chuan, Luo Li leaned against a big tree, looked up at the blue sky, covered his violently beating heart with his hands, and gasped for air. This was not caused by violent running, but by close contact with Lu Chuan and being praised. Brother Lu Chuan, when can I confess to you that I am a woman? Luo Li muttered. Seeing that there were not many people around, Lu Chuan randomly chose a direction and walked into the forest. If he wanted to obtain high-level spiritual grass, he had to go deep into the central mountain range. The core spiritual grass needed for the barrier-breaking pill can only appear deep in the forest. While moving quickly, Lu Chuan called out the system. System, what happened to getting so many points just now? Why is this shameful? The system heard the host's question and suppressed a smile. PFF'd. Well, she just felt that she was looked down upon by the host. Please keep going, host. Competitions are evil, and the only way to humiliate the protagonist is to humiliate her. Lu Chuan frowned and reluctantly accepted the system's explanation, but suddenly felt murderous intent coming from behind. Relying on Gold Core's initial reaction speed, Lu Chuan quickly dodged to the side and narrowly escaped the attack. Turning his head, he was attacked by a tiger-shaped spirit beast, grinning and roaring. About 3 meters tall and 8 or 9 meters long, it smells like the foundation building late stage. Seeing that the sneak attack failed, it jumped up suddenly, reached the top of the tree in twos and twos, roared in the air, and wanted to attack Lu Chuan from a high place. But the next second, a huge green python hidden on the treetop suddenly burst out, opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the tiger in one bite. Then it moved quickly, leaving a hissing sound in the forest. Among the green trees and green snakes, it was impossible to tell where its head was. Lu Chuan estimated that the giant python was 50 or 60 meters long, and its strength was about the gold core level of a human. Suppressing his breath, Lu Chuan moved at full speed for 3 or 4 kilometers. He slowed down when he couldn't see the giant python. Brother Long, look over there. Long Lin's follower trembled and pointed to the treetops not far away. Long Lin covered the follower's mouth to stop him from making any noise, and then said to him, "Don't hold me back if you want to die. Let's go." Didn't you see Lu Chuan run away immediately? Long Lin and his 3 younger brothers followed Lu Chuan through the forest. They originally wanted to beat up Lu Chuan first, but they didn't expect that Lu Chuan rushed towards the center of the forest with a clear goal and became interested in it. Long Lin wanted to snatch what Lu Chuan wanted, then beat him up and treat him to a feast. It's just that there is a poison in the food that can break a person's dantian. Lu Chuan jumped on the treetops. We haven't reached the center of the central mountains yet. The gold core python just now is the overlord in this area. After eating, the overlord will find a place to digest it. The strongest part of this area was the gold core stage. Lu Chuan was not afraid and simply moved forward on the canopy. The key spiritual herb for refining the barrier-breaking pill is the fire sunflower, which is very rare in every sect. Only one mature flower can be found within a radius of dozens of miles, and any one flower can be sold for tens of thousands of spirit stones, which is the same price as the rare spirit treasure. Recall the knowledge about elixirs and herbs in your mind. Fireflower is hot in nature, loves sunshine, and is intolerant of waterlogging. The forest floor is not considered. Combining the position of the sun and the time given by the system, Lu Chuan could determine the general direction. There are high mountains to the north, and there are cliffs on the north side of the mountain. They are exposed to sunlight for a long time, which is exactly in line with the growth habit of fire flowers. Thinking that the fire sunflower might be picked by others, Lu Chuan felt a little impatient and quickened his pace. Just enough to get rid of the 4 people who were following him. Lu Chuan didn't know why these 4 people were following him, but if they couldn't figure it out, Lu Chuan would snatch the storage rings and spiritual swords from their hands. Maybe there will be a place to get them in the future, and use them to attract the attention of the ferocious spirit beast or something like that. Brother Long, how can he run so fast? I'm about to die, Long Lin's younger brother said breathlessly. The other 2 boys also stopped, holding on to the tree with both hands, and followed Lu Chuan for more than 10 minutes. In order to catch up with Lu Chuan, they moved at full speed, but now their legs felt like they were made of lead and they could not move. On the other hand, Lu Chuan's relaxed and comfortable look seemed like he was taking a walk in the forest. Did he use the 1,000 miles a day talisman? How come he can run faster than us on flat ground? Use the bull demon. Long Lin frowned and reprimanded. You bunch of trash, you are still the foundation building late stage. Based on your seniority, I will call you senior brother. Not to mention you are not as good as me. You can't even be the foundation building late stage Lu. Nothing is as good as anything. Long Lin has been body refining since he was a child. His physical strength is much higher than that of cultivators of the same level. With the use of spiritual energy, he can catch up with Lu Chuan without gasping for breath. What they didn't know was that Lu Chuan didn't use any spiritual energy during his actions, and relied entirely on his tyrannical body to jump and sprint. The roar of the carnivorous spirit beast and the sound of fierce footsteps were heard not far away, reminding them that they had left the safe perimeter. If you want to become a spirit beast, just continue to stop here. After saying these words, Long Lin continued to move forward and followed Lu Chuan. He wanted to know what precious spiritual grass Lu Chuan, who had a clear goal, was looking for. He vaguely guessed that Lu Chuan was looking for the legendary dragon blood grass. Although a mortal gate is expected to be less powerful than before, it is still an old-school sect with profound foundations, and there may actually be records about dragon blood grass in the library. Because it has never been discovered before, it belongs to the legendary dragon's blood grass. One tree is worth 100,000 points, which is not comparable to the 1-point weeds that can be seen everywhere on the roadside. Brother Long, wait for me. The younger brothers recovered a little and then rushed towards Long Lin. The central mountains stretch for thousands of miles, the terrain is complex, and the weather is unpredictable. Just as Lu Chuan rushed to the northern cliff, lightning struck from the sky, thunder roared, and in an instant, heavy rain fell. The big tree under his feet was swayed left and right by the fierce wind. The sound of rattling continued around Lu Chuan, and the branches were blown off by the strong wind. The terrain was unfamiliar to me, coupled with the strong wind and heavy rain, the swaying trees under my feet, and the ferocious spirit beast lurking. Lu Chuan felt that it was too dangerous to go any further, so he jumped off the tree canopy to find a place to hide from the rain. Vision and hearing were powerless in this situation, and Lu Chuan released his spiritual consciousness. A tree hole was found in a wide tree trunk not far away. His spiritual sense expanded the detection range and confirmed that the spirit beast, which was not dangerous, was hiding in the tree hole, and he quickly walked into it. There is a space of about 10 square meters in the tree hole. There are large leaves at the top of the tree, so rainwater cannot fall in. Looking around, you can see clearly visible scratches on the inner wall, a patch of blood in the corner, and a few gray furs falling on the ground. This is the bear cave. Change your clothes and wait until the rain stops before leaving. Lu Chuan bought a set of new and dry robes from the system store. Lu Chuan took off his soaked clothes. Because he was moving too fast, his clothes were scratched somewhere and looked a little tattered. It's convenient to have a system. Luo Li, do you have such a good system? Lu Chuan thought. Host, it's great that you think so. As long as the host takes away Luo Li's opportunity, I can treat the host even better. It's no longer a mechanical voice, this time the system's voice is a joyful female voice. Lu Chuan was about to ask questions about the gender of the system when he felt something approaching quickly. The speed was so fast that even if he ran out immediately, he would be overtaken. It is the owner of the tree hole, a mid-gold core bear-shaped spirit beast. Summoning the Ice Soul Sword, Lu Chuan took a stance and prepared to face the enemy. A few moments later, the drenched bear came to the door of the tree cave. It was about 10 meters tall. It had the smell of blood from having been fighting in the forest all year round. Its fur fell down and stuck to its skin, highlighting its powerful muscles and huge body. It lost one eye, and the other remaining eye was staring at Lu Chuan, its fangs exposed, its whole body tense, and a deep roar coming from its throat, as if it wanted to kill Lu Chuan in an instant as he occupied his home. I just changed into new clothes, Mr. Shang, can you let me go? The next second, the bear-shaped spirit beast in the middle stage of gold core pounced on Lu Chuan, its roar drowning out the sound of the wind and rain. The 3 Long Lin people who were hiding from the rain not far away were rejoicing when they saw this scene, thinking that Lu Chuan would definitely die now. Long Lin and others paid close attention to everything that happened in the cave and wanted to see Lu Chuan's death with their own eyes. Even if you are a genius in swordsmanship and can defeat Tang Fei in swordsmanship, you are still a weakling in the early stages of foundation building. The world of cultivation is full of dangers. There are rules for competitions, but there are no rules outside. The bear-shaped spirit beast in the middle stage of Goldcore fights for survival every day in the central mountain range. Compared to human cultivators who are at least superficially harmonious, it can be said to be born for fighting. In actual play, it can display the strength of the Goldcore late stage and even the nascent soul stage. There is no shortage of geniuses in the world of cultivation. I love to see geniuses fall. Long Lin thought. In the tree hole, Lu Chuan avoided the giant bear's bite and turned sideways to prevent its long claws from hurting himself. There are murder weapons everywhere on them. He was about to swing his sword to stab the giant bear's bright eyes, hoping that it would lose its ability to perceive the outside world as it could not cultivate spiritual consciousness. A little girl wearing a long white dress suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chuan. She was the sword spirit of the Ice Soul Sword. She looked at the giant bear with its teeth bared and a ferocious look in its eyes, and thought for a moment. He turned to Lu Chuan and said, "Master, this bear wants to hurt you. Let me chop it down for you." His tone was calm, and no fear could be heard. The corners of his mouth were raised, eager to try. Finally got a chance to show off in front of his master, the little girl thought. No one except Lu Chuan could see her, and certainly not the giant bear. It was surprised that the weak human in front of it could dodge its own attack, and was thinking about which angle it would attack from next time. The little girl waved her hand in the direction of the giant bear. The Ice Soul Sword in Lu Chuan's hand seemed to have its own ideas, moving with Lu Chuan's body. Jumping in front of the giant bear stood on 2 feet and wanted to attack Lu Chuan in front of him with its front paws. The little girl smiled slightly and thought, "This beast is only wild and has no spirituality. It is really easy to deal with." Without giving the giant bear time to react, the Ice Soul Sword slashed towards its exposed belly in an instant. Even though the whole body is made of hard bones and has huge muscles, the abdomen is still the softest part. The giant bear's belly was sliced open, dazzling red blood spurted out, and it let out a hoarse wail. His whole body was trembling, and he looked at Lu Chuan with one eye, fear and despair in his eyes. It knew it was looking at the wrong prey, turned around and ran away. "You just wanted to hurt my master, and now you want to escape." The little girl smiled. She took over control of the Ice Soul Sword from Lu Chuan. The little girl's figure disappeared, and the Ice Soul Sword flew straight towards the escaping giant bear. 3 seconds later, the giant bear was dismembered not far outside the tree hole, and the rainwater gathered on the ground was stained red with blood. Lu Chuan was quite shocked by the strength of the sword spirit. It swung at the giant bear 200 to 300 times in 3 seconds. This is something that only a sword spirit who is born from the divine sword and has obtained the supreme swordsmanship can do. The little girl had merged with the Ice Soul Sword just now. After reappearing, her white skirt turned red. She bent down to pick up the spirit core that fell out of the giant bear, and ran and jumped to Lu Chuan's side. "Master, this is for you." Her face showed an innocent smile unique to a little girl, but her body was soaked in blood. The blood kept dripping and wet the tree hole. She said before that she had killed cultivators in the land of immortals on her own, which was not a lie. She was Lu Chuan's sword spirit and would not lie to Lu Chuan. Lu Chuan was surprised by the contrast and stared at the little girl in front of him. "Thank you, Bing Bing." Taking the egg-sized spiritual core, Lu Chuan didn't know what to call the little girl in front of him. Thinking that she was the sword spirit of the Bingso sword, I simply called her Bing Bing. The smile on the little girl's face became even brighter. "Bing Bing, did the master give me a name?" "Okay, I finally have a name." As she said this, she went to hug Lu Chuan, but found that her clothes were not clean. She shook her body, and the clothes on her body became brand new, and the blood on her cheeks disappeared, as if she had taken a bath and changed clothes. Hugging each other, she was attracted by Lu Chuan's sweet scent and wanted to bite Lu Chuan's neck. She whispered in Lu Chuan's ear with a soft and pure voice, "Bing Bing is so powerful, master, can you give me some rewards?" Quote. Lu Chuan knew what she was thinking and immediately distanced himself. "I bought a 6th grade spirit sword from the Point store and handed it to Bing Bing. Well done, this is your reward." The gloom on Bing Bing's face swept away, and she threw herself into Lu Chuan's arms. "I knew you were the best, master. When I regain my strength, I will repay master well. How long will it take?" "As long as you can help me when I can't let go." Lu Chuan replied after touching Bingbing's hair. The four people in Long Lin, who had been watching the situation in the tree hole not far away, were stunned on the spot. From their perspective, Lu Chuan just swung his sword casually, and then used his spiritual energy to control the sword, casually killing the giant bear in the middle stage of Gold Core. Especially at the end, after the giant bear escaped, he used his spiritual sword to chop hundreds of times in a very short time. This was completely beyond the capabilities of a cultivator in the early days of foundation building. He is hiding his strength. Using Reiki like that, Lu Chuan is at least foundation building late stage. Long Lin thought and swallowed. According to his understanding, Lu Chuan, the new chief executive of Immortal Gate, was chi refining late stage not long ago, and has just broken through to the early stage of foundation building in recent days. In the early days of foundation building, the 19-year-old was considered to be among the best in the entire world of cultivation. But what if he was foundation building late stage? The best cultivation talent in the cultivation world right now is Qin Chuqing, a 20-year-old in the middle of foundation building. His cultivation talent is several times better than Qin Chuqing. With such a heaven-defying talent, he also knows how to hide his true cultivation, is powerful and thoughtful. If he were allowed to continue to develop, Bu Yuming would have become a blockbuster. When he grows up to the point where he no longer needs to hide his cultivation, I am afraid that the entire world of cultivation will tremble. Qin Chuqing got engaged to him, but Qin Chuqing made the profit. Long Lin has always regarded himself as a genius boy, but now it seems that the only one who is worthy of Qin Chuqing is Lu Chuan in front of him. Long Lin couldn't bear the fact that the sweetheart he had liked for 10 years had a more suitable candidate. The master only asked him to destroy Lu Chuan, but Long Lin had a more vicious idea in mind. With jealousy, envy, and fear, he wanted to make Lu Chuan disappear during this picking festival. The other three younger brothers didn't think so much. They only understood one thing. Lu Chuan's victory over the famous elder Tang Fei of his sect was definitely not an accident, it was his true strength. Brother Long, let's forget it. We can get a good ranking by focusing on picking spiritual herbs, so why bother grabbing Lu Chuan's? Yes, he was walking fast all the way. He had no time to pick spiritual herbs. The three followers all wanted to quit and started to back down. If you still recognize me as a buddy, stop talking nonsense. Lu Chuan must die in the Central Mountains. This son must not stay. Seeing Long Lin's words so firmly, the three followers could only remain silent. They had been under the great care of Long Lin for so many years in the Spirit Sword sect. Long Lin wanted to get rid of someone, and it's not like they had done it before. Apart from his swordsmanship, Lu Chuan was still a newcomer in the early stages of foundation building. For the sake of brothers, for the sake of money and career, I fought hard. I don't believe that there are 3 foundation building late stages. 1 foundation building in the middle stage can't deal with 1 foundation building in the early stage. It rained all night, and Lu Chuan practiced in a tree hole all night. In the middle of the night, the ice is flowing. She said, "I'm so lonely, Master, please talk to me, Master, stop practicing, what are you trying to do with me here? Just find me a spiritual sword to eat, Master, do you still have a spiritual sword with you? Hungry or something like that." Lu Chuan warned her to give her to Luo Li if she bothered him again, and she calmed down. Who wants to be with that little man? There is no masculinity at all. I still like rich and handsome masters. Bingbing fell asleep thinking about it. Early the next morning, Lu Chuan set out on the road and headed towards the mountains to the north. After a day of walking, we finally came to the hill. There is grassland at the bottom of the hill, and woods farther away. Using his spiritual sense to check, Lu Chuan found a small red flower on the northern top of the mountain. Recalling the description of Huiangwa in my mind, it fits perfectly. Fire sunflower is found, and other common spirit communication grasses can be found at will. Gold core is stable in the mid-term. Lu Chuan was about to climb the mountain to pick fire flowers. Suddenly the sun was blocked, a hurricane blew around him, and a deafening roar came from the sky above, as if the world was shaking. Looking up, I saw a big eagle with a wingspan of about 30 meters. It spotted Lu Chuan at the foot of the mountain. This was a warning to Lu Chuan. A gold core late-stage skyhawk. Lu Chuan feels a little tricky. Looking towards the top of the mountain, I found a huge bird's nest on the top of the hill. There were several light yellow eggs in the nest. This eagle was protecting its offspring. The sky has darkened. The central mountain range of the Gold Core late stages carnivorous spirit beast is its home field, and there are 4 foundation building stage stalkers hiding beside it. Lu Chuan felt that he shouldn't fight hard. Quickly moving into the forest, Lu Chuan began to think about how to collect fire flowers. It would be unrealistic to steal it at night when it is sleeping. This bird-shaped spirit beast is very sensitive to its surroundings and can detect the slightest disturbance. Thinking of the stalkers not far away, Lu Chuan felt that they were good bait. If you want to harm others, you must be prepared to be harmed. On the Longland side, the 4 of them followed Lu Chuan all the way and saw Lu Chuan stop in front of the mountain. They stopped and looked up, and also found fire flowers on the top of the mountain. Brother Long, look, Huiyanghua, 1,000 points. A follower said happily. Don't make any noise. Long Lin frowned. Don't make any noise to expose us. It won't be too late for us to grab the fire sunflower when Lu Chuan gets it. Seeing that Lu Chuan made no move, they simply hid in the woods near the mountain. Waiting quietly until late at night, Lu Chuan began to take action. Long Lin was meditating and practicing when he suddenly felt the ground shaking. Earthquake. It wasn't an earthquake, it was just the trees falling down around us. All the trees around the 4 people were cut down, and while making a huge noise, the spirit beast in the forest was disturbed and began to howl. Only the base of the tree remained standing, and the 4 figures stood out against the low stump. In an instant, the sky eagle arrived above the 4 people. When it senses an abnormality, it immediately eliminates factors that may cause danger to its offspring. It was obviously irritated, and its bright eagle eyes stared at the people below. It flapped its wings vigorously, as if to blow the 4 people away, and its low chirping sound echoed in the valley. Long Lin noticed something was wrong and shouted loudly, "Why are you still standing there? Run!" Several of them were targeted by the Gold Core Skyhawks. All 4 of them are considered outstanding newcomers in the Spirit Sword sect. Being able to keep up with Lu Chuan in the early stages of Gold Core shows that their leg and foot skills are quite good. Knowing that they would die if caught up, several people even broke out at a speed that was unimaginable for ordinary foundation building stage. The surrounding trees were cut down, so he ran deeper into the forest, using the towering trees to block the Skyhawk's sight. As a flying spirit beast, Sky Eagle is of course top-notch in speed. It can accurately track the location of 4 people and launch an attack on them despite the interference of trees of different heights. There are Gold Core Sky Eagles chasing me in the sky, and there are all kinds of bugs and beasts harassing me around. Although the 4 of them were barely able to escape the Sky Eagle's attack, their bodies were already scarred. At the hill on the other side, Lu Chuan released his spiritual consciousness to confirm that the Sky Eagle was chasing the 4 people away, and then climbed to the top of the hill to pick fire flowers. Thank you, stranger. Lu Chuan laughed out loud when he saw the embarrassed appearance of the 4 of them. Spiritual herbs are very delicate and will wither and die soon after leaving the roots. Dead spiritual herbs do not count as points, so the organizer will uniformly issue storage rings to store the spiritual herbs. His own storage ring cannot be used. Disciples participating in the picking ceremony can only put the spiritual grass into the storage ring, but Lu Chuan does not need it. The system has a separate storage space. I have obtained the fire sunflower, which is the most important part of the barrier-breaking pill, and I can start refining the pill by looking for other spiritual herbs tomorrow. The Gold Core midterm is just around the corner. Lu Chuan glanced at the eagle's nest and noticed something unusual. The bird's nest is made of branches from various trees in the forest, but there is a branch on the outside that looks like a key. Lu Chuan took it out. It was not a tree, but a metal-like brass, as thick as a forearm. Observing carefully, this thing exuded extraordinary aura, and Lu Chuan took it into the system space. Lu Chuan guessed that this thing was the key to the inheritance of dragon race. In the original work, Luo Li did not get the key to the inheritance, so he paid a heavy price for it. Unexpectedly, the key was scattered in the forest of the central mountain range. Lu Chuan returned to the tree hole and used spiritual energy to disguise the tree hole. From the outside, the wide tree was completely intact and impossible to be discovered. Waiting until dawn, he set out to find the barrier-breaking pill. Lu Chuan continued to practice and consolidate his cultivation. The aura of the central mountain range is very abundant, and Lu Chuan has chaos immortal physique. He can practice in the forest like a fish in water, and one day of practice is as good as 100 days outside. When the sun rose, Lu Chuan shuttled through the forest at an extremely fast speed. Relying on the knowledge of spiritual herbs in his mind, he found all the spiritual herbs needed for the barrier-breaking pill in the morning, and also found many rare spiritual herbs, are placed in the system space. As for some medium spiritual grasses, and even common spirit communication grasses that can be refreshed in the system store, Lu Chuan has placed them in the designated storage ring. He plans to make pills first, take them to improve his cultivation, and then grab some other people's spiritual herbs after he comes out, so that he should be able to take first place. But Lu Chuan forgot that he had already left the periphery of the central mountain range and was already deep inside. The spiritual grass he picked casually, according to the rules, had exceeded 3,000 points. Since the establishment of the picking festival, the highest record is 2,700 points, set by Lin Qingshe, who looks at a mortal gate. Lin Qingshe was invincible with his excellent swordsmanship and outstanding cultivation talent. She didn't know the spiritual herbs, so she went to find someone to compete with others, and if she won, she would take away the spiritual herbs in other people's storage rings, and she became the number one through the competition. They are all willing to admit defeat, so where does the robbery come from? Most of the disciples who once participated with Lin Qingshe have become elders of various sects. To this day, if you mention Lin Qingshe, the female swordswoman in a light blue dress, to them, they will still awaken the deep fear in their hearts. Maybe even subconsciously hand over the storage ring. Someone once sparred with Lin Qingshe 5 or 6 times a month and was almost heartbroken after being beaten. On the other side, Tian Ying chased Long Lin all night before giving up the pursuit in the early morning and turned back to his nest. Long Lin and others also recalled what was going on. They were used as bait to attract the opening heaven eagle. They all gnashed their teeth, and their hearts were filled with hatred for Lu Chuan. Not everyone has a convenient system like Lu Chuan, where they can buy clothes at will. The robes on their bodies became torn, and large areas of their skin were exposed, covered in bulges from insect bites. His face was full of exhaustion, and he collapsed to the ground from exhaustion, as if his muscles were weak all over his body. Lu Chuan, how dare you play tricks on us like this? Don't even think about keeping fire sunflower in your hands safely. I will make you pay the price. Long Lin thought fiercely. Those who participated in the picking festival were all upright new practitioners below the gold core level, so it was impossible to see through the tree hole disguised by Lu Chuan. Take out the alchemy furnace, distribute the spiritual herbs required to refine the barrier-breaking pill in proportion, turn the spiritual energy into fire, and extract the essence of the spiritual herbs and blend them together. After 3 days, Lu Chuan got the barrier-breaking pill with pill pattern. In the past, it was impossible to refine the most basic origin returning pill with the pill pattern, but now I can easily refine the gold core elixir. I am also a master of alchemy. Lu Chuan thought, swallowed the obstacle-breaking pill and began to meditate. In the last few days, before we grab other people's spiritual herbs, we must first improve our actual cultivation level. 10 days have passed since the harvest festival began. During these 10 days, the participating disciples focused on conserving their physical strength, and there were no restorative elixirs available for use in the precepts. Trying to avoid fighting and focusing on picking spiritual herbs is the idea of most people. Only Luo Li and Qin Chuqing were different. Although Luo Li wears a spirit treasure that can mask her breath, making it difficult to tell her gender, she is still a woman, with a petite figure, a handsome face, and a delicate temperament. Everyone focuses on picking spiritual herbs and avoiding battles, but as long as someone sees Luo Li, their first impression is that Luo Li is a weakling. Besides, Luo Li is only in the early stage of foundation building, so everyone is trying to grab her spiritual herbs. Participants from the early stage of foundation building to the late stage of foundation building all fought with Luo Li. No one could defeat Luo Li, and Luo Li took away the spiritual grass instead. Luo Li is no ordinary person. Before she met Lu Chuan, she practiced hard, aiming for revenge every day, never relaxing, and standing out in the inner sect full of involution. After meeting Lu Chuan and becoming a disciple of Lin Qingshe on his recommendation, he was taught by the female swordsman Lin Qingshe and competed with Lu Chuan thousands of times. His swordsmanship was greatly improved, and his weak Taoist skills were also taught by Lu Chuan. The small lecture hall for Badmouth is supplemented. Her practical level is far beyond the average foundation building late stage. After picking spiritual herbs along the way and adding the spiritual herbs given by others, Luo Li's points reached 1,000 points on the 10th day. Qin Chuqing is just the opposite. Everyone knows that the chief of the Spirit Sword sect is the strongest newcomer in the world of cultivation today and the undoubted future boss. No one wanted to offend her, so they handed over their spiritual herbs when they saw Qin Chuqing. Senior Sister Qin, just take it away without having to fight with me. Everyone who sees Qin Chuqing will say similar things to her. She won't be polite, since it was given by others, so don't take it for free. She headed all the way deep into the central mountains. When they came to a canyon, Qin Chuqing found a small purple flower on the cliff of the canyon. It was the concentration flower. This flower is a spiritual herb used to increase the intensity of spiritual consciousness. After a cultivator gathers the gold core, he or she must start to focus on the cultivation of spiritual consciousness. The spiritual grass required for the gold core stage has about 800 points. Just as he was preparing to pick it with his sword, there was the sound of branches being trampled down behind him. Qin Chuqing was instantly alert, took out her spiritual sword, and turned around to check. The person coming was Luo Li. She fought all the way and reached deep into the mountains, and found the concentration flower on the top of the canyon. Qin Chuqing, Luo Li murmured. She naturally knew the beauty in front of her. Not long ago, she went to Immortal Gate to compete with senior brother Lu Chuan. She was planning to break off the engagement with Qin Chuqing, the chief of the Spirit Sword sect and senior brother Lu Chuan's fiancé. Luo Li felt a little irritable. There was no way to express her feelings for senior brother Lu Chuan. Qin Chuqing was engaged to her senior brother and still wanted to break off the engagement. How could this be possible? If you don't need it, can you give it to someone who wants it, like me? Seeing the strange emotion in the visitor's eyes, Qin Chuqing thought that Luo Li wanted to compete with her for the concentration flower. This fellow Taoist, the concentrating flower is rare, I can't give it away casually. Qin Chuqing suggested. The picking festival is a place where strength speaks for itself. Let's have a competition, and the winner can pick the condensing flower. This is feasible. Luo Li was worried, thinking that Qin Chuqing was senior brother Lu Chuan's fiancé, and maybe they would still be sisters in the future, so he took the initiative to give up the Ningxinhua. But since it was Qin Chuqing who suggested it, he could use the competition to release his dissatisfaction. Of course it's feasible. Luo Li nodded in agreement. The two summoned their spiritual swords and started fighting around the canyon. Qin Chuqing, who was in the middle of foundation building, did gain an advantage at first, but as time passed, she felt that the swordsmanship used by the boy in front of her was very familiar. Sharp attacks and dodges that don't waste any energy. Although the young man has not yet understood his sword intent, his sword energy gives people a sharp feeling. She had been studying Lu Chuan's sword intent for the past 2 days, and suddenly thought that the two of them were very similar from their sword-wielding habits to their swordsmanship. Pulling away from each other, Qin Chuqing lightly opened her red lips. What is your relationship with Wang Immortal Gate Lu Chuan? Suddenly being asked, the question was about his relationship with Lu Chuan. Luo Li temporarily stopped his attack and stood there. He and I are. Luo Li began to think about how to summarize the relationship between the two of them. It was obvious that they were ordinary senior brothers, but as a couple, senior brother Lu Chuan had no male or female feelings for him. He had a unilateral crush on him. We are close friends, Luo Li said seriously. In order to make Qin Chuqing jealous, Luo Li, who forgot that he was a man in the eyes of others, added, we often meet alone to compete and learn from each other. No wonder I was able to have such a profound understanding of Kendo in the early days of foundation building, and I was able to fight with myself back and forth. It turns out that he and Mr. Lu are close friends. Qin Chuqing thought. In the early stages of the foundation building, the level of cultivation was lower in the picking festival, so it was not easy to get here. For the sake of Mr. Lu, I gave him the Ningxin flower. That's all, just take this pillar of concentration flower. After saying these words, Qin Chuqing continued to walk towards the center of the mountain range. It should have been a happy thing to successfully obtain the Ningxian flower, but Luo Li always felt that he had lost to Qin Chuqing somewhere, and his heart was full of unwillingness. Some time has passed, during the time when Lu Chuan was promoted to the middle stage of Gold Core and consolidated his cultivation. Overt and covert fighting also began in the central mountain range. As the month came to an end, everyone began to look covetously at other people's gains. Long Lin and his party, who were looking for Lu Chuan back and forth in the mountains, lost their goal and could only focus on picking spiritual herbs and encircling others. Wang Yuan was completely open-minded. In the first few days, she could insist on going to the forest to collect spiritual grass. On the 5th day, she couldn't stand the harsh environment. After taking out the sound transmission charm to contact the surrounding elders and failing, she randomly found a cave to hide and slept. Days when you wake up and tease the fox, and continue to sleep when you are tired. On the outskirts of the central mountain range, 5 elders were chatting boredly. The disciples who participated in this picking festival are also perseverant. It has been 28 days, and not one of them has used the sound transmission talisman to withdraw early. The elder of the Dragon Gate sect said, "We've made it easy, sitting here every day." An elder who looked like a young man replied. Suddenly, the teleportation stone in the Dragon Gate sect elder's hand glowed. A line of crooked words appeared on it, obviously written in an emergency. Evil cultivator attacks, Dragon Gate sect is about to fall, come back quickly. Evil cultivator launched a surprise attack on Dragon Gate sect. The situation is urgent. I want to go back and take a look. The elder of Dragon Gate sect stood up and shouted. The originally relaxed and comfortable atmosphere changed instantly, and all the elders present became nervous. An elder who couldn't stand it said, "How dare evil cultivator come to the eastern domain? I will also go to the Dragon Gate sect to help." Arousing everyone's sympathy, the 5 elders all said that they would kill the evil cultivator to defend the right path. This won't work. The picking festival will end in 2 days. Someone needs to stay here to watch the scene and calculate the rankings. I accept everyone's support, the Dragon Gate sect elder said gratefully. The young-looking elder spoke at this time, "Why don't I stay here? My cultivation is shallow and I am not as good as my fellow brothers in fighting skills and sword fighting. Just go ahead and leave the picking ceremony to me." After hearing this, the elder of the Dragon Gate sect had tears in his eyes and sighed that the righteous way was really united. Then the 4 of them flew with their swords towards the Dragon Gate sect. After making sure that the others were gone, the young elder looked at the detonation formation activation stone in his hand and couldn't help laughing. He has been lurking in Luoyan sect for hundreds of years, and climbed up to the position of elder with difficulty, just to be able to cooperate with his compatriots in the Northern Territory, just for these few days. After taking the barrier-breaking pill, Lu Chuan consolidated his cultivation in the tree hole until the last day. The golden ball in the dantian became more lustrous, doubled in size, and there was endless strength all over the body. After exiting the competition, in order to get first place, Lu Chuan searched for lone participants in the forest, knocked them out at extremely fast speeds, and took away the spiritual herbs they picked. If there is a spirit sword in the storage ring, the spirit sword will also be taken away. Most of the participants were swordsmen and Taoists who did not understand spiritual herbs. The number of spiritual herbs collected in a month was actually very small. Only by snatching other people's spiritual herbs could one get a good ranking in the picking festival. Encountering his old acquaintance Sima Dong by chance, Lu Chuan picked up the stone without hesitation, wrapped it in spiritual energy and threw it at him. Taking out his storage ring, Sima Dong could only get 700 or 800 points of spiritual herbs in 1 month. Calculating the points, Lu Chuan found that the spiritual grass in his storage ring had at least 4,000 points, which was much more than the highest record. So he felt relieved and went to the tree hole to start thinking about how to face the evil cultivator. In the original work, all the elders in charge of the picking ceremony were sent away, and only the undercover elders of the evil cultivator remained. After taking away the storage rings of all the disciples, they activated the detonation formation and prepared to kill the disciples present. The central mountain range was the residence of dragon race tens of thousands of years ago. The heritage of dragon race was covered by mud. The explosion exposed the ruins. In order to survive from the evil cultivator in the nascent soul period, the righteous disciples hid in the ruins. Luo Li finally overcame all odds to obtain the dragon race inheritance. Bing Bing, if we play together, can we beat the evil cultivator in the early stage of nascent soul? Lu Chuan took out the ice soul sword and asked. The little girl with an exquisite face appeared in the air in front of Lu Chuan. She stared at Lu Chuan's face and tilted her head to think. The last time we met, the owner was in the early stage of gold core. Now he is in the middle stage of gold core. It has only been less than a month. The owner is really a genius. Although he is a genius, gold core and nascent soul are still separated by a huge chasm, and with his own words, he can barely deal with them. She told the truth. I can't beat it, but I won't lose. I can barely cope with it. Just barely coping is enough, and being able to escape safely from the evil cultivator is no problem. Bing Bing is really powerful, take these. Lu Chuan took out a dozen spiritual swords from the storage ring and handed them to Bing Bing. They were all collected from other people from 3rd grade to 6th grade. Wow, Master, you are so good. If I really face off against a nascent soul monk tomorrow, I'll be begging you. I will do my best to protect the Master, don't worry, Master. Lu Chuan practiced in a tree hole all night. On the second day, the picking festival was over. According to the rules, all disciples who participated in the picking ceremony must return to the place where they were disbanded, and the upright elders will be responsible for calculating the spiritual grasp points to determine the ranking. Lu Chuan heard Sima Dong's voice as soon as he arrived. He complained, the spiritual herbs I spent all my efforts to collect suddenly disappeared yesterday. I thought I could still get into the top 10, but now I don't even have the ranking. Even the spiritual sword was stolen. My spiritual grass was stolen. There is a divine mark on the sword. Little thief, please don't let me catch you. The divine mark is a method for finding objects. As long as the divine mark is still there, things can be found anywhere in the world. Sima Dong's spiritual sword has now entered Bing Bing's belly, and the mark of consciousness is eaten together as seasoning. Bing Bing said, it's a bit spicy, but it tastes good. Please have more. The elder of the Luoyan sect who was responsible for recording the scores said, the first place now is Long Lin from the Spirit Sword sect, with a score of 2,500, and the second place is Shen Yan from the Luoyan sect. The undercover evil cultivator elder read out the names from 1st to 10th. What makes Lu Chuan strange is that Luo Li and Qin Chuqing are not on the list. Long Lin is a small group, and the spiritual herbs collected by the 4 people are counted as Long Lin alone to get such a high score. After a while, the 2 of them came out from different directions in the forest, and both went deep into the mountains to look for rare spiritual herbs. Luo Li went to the scoring area first and put the spiritual herbs in the storage ring into the scoring box as required. There is a spirit stone that can display words on the scoring box. Luo Li's point score is 3,100 points. Seeing this score, all the disciples in the audience couldn't believe their eyes. They thought that 2,500 points was already high. After all, the highest record was only 2,700 points. The handsome and delicate junior brother in front of him could actually achieve such a high score. Hopefully the Immortal Gate disciples would recognize Luo Li and whisper, he is Lin Qingshui's direct disciple, and he has broken his master's record. The entire audience was buzzing with discussions about Luo Li, who was talking about, the seemingly weak junior brother was actually the disciple of the cold female sword fairy, and both of them set a record for the picking ceremony. Qin Chuqing's face was expressionless and her heart was calm. She didn't believe she would lose, so she poured the spirit grass into the scoring box. The final points displayed were 3,400 points. The rankings have been changed. The first place is Qin Chuqing from Spirit Sword Sect, the second place is Luo Li from Wang Immortal Gate, and the third place is Long Lin from Spirit Sword Sect. The disciple of Spirit Sword Sect shouted, Sister Qin, the eternal god. Luo Li's record has been broken again. Such a high score must be unprecedented and unprecedented. 2 of the top 3 are from our Spirit Sword Sect. This picking festival can prove our strength. Because the Spirit Sword Sect was a newly established sect more than 10,000 years ago, although it currently has the most high-level monks and the highest overall strength, it is inevitable that people will gossip behind its back and be described as a flash in the pan. When Qin Chuqing heard these words, she began to think about why Mr. Lu was not among the top 10. Did he have an accident and the spiritual grass was robbed? She frowned and looked in the direction of Immortal Gate, looking for Lu Chuan. Luo Li trusted Lu Chuan very much. She felt that senior brother Lu Chuan had not arrived yet. When she turned around, Lu Chuan came behind Luo Li. The high scores of the top 3 have been announced. Unexpectedly, there is still someone who wants to challenge. Lu Chuan turned into a clown in the eyes of the onlookers. Long Lin was shocked to see Lu Chuan and thought, why is he still alive? The 4 of them had been looking for him in the forest for nearly a month, but there was no sign of him. They thought he had been attacked and killed by a wild beast, but now he appeared. Wang Yuyan was also attracted to Lu Chuan. She wanted to see what level of genius her father talked about every day. Under the suspicion and ridicule of the audience, Lu Chuan put the spirit grass into the scoring box, and the number on the scoring box jumped, 4,900 points. For a moment, the noisy mountain range became quiet. Everyone looked at the numbers on the scoring box and froze in place. Lu Chuan, however, had no expression on his face and looked very calm. Qin Chuqing couldn't help laughing when she saw Lu Chuan's calm look and the shocked looks of the people around her. Mr. Lu, it's really interesting. The elder of the Luoyan sect, who was undercover, spoke slowly. Now the ranking has changed again. The first place is Wang Immortal Gate Lu Chuan, with a score of 4,900 points. Lu Chuan, still expressionless, took out the spiritual grass from the scoring box and put it into the storage ring. Congratulations to Lu Chuan for breaking the record just set in the picking festival. The elder smiled and glanced at Lu Chuan, looking at Qin Chuqing and Luo Li. Our righteous path is really full of talents. There are so many outstanding juniors this year. Quote. The crisp sound of the system rang in Lu Chuan's ears. Host completes task, wins first place in the picking festival. Reward has been issued. The host's cultivation level is upgraded from Gold Core mid-stage to Gold Core late stage. Closing square bracket quote. Hearing the elder say the word, Lu Chuan, the onlookers who were still shocked suddenly felt that it was reasonable. Who is Lu Chuan? The fiancée of Qin Chuqing, the most talented woman in the righteous path today, is a swordsman genius who can surpass the elders of the Spirit Sword sect in swordsmanship. He was promoted to the early stage of the foundation building at the age of only 19, and his training speed surpassed that of most of the disciples present. They are also the most talented people in each sect selected for cultivation. At the age of 19, most of them are still in the middle stage of qi refining. Regarding Lu Chuan, even if you don't deliberately understand it, it is difficult to avoid it when chatting with others. I hope that the Immortal Gate disciples present know more. During the Sacred Land Enlightenment not long ago, Lu Chuan once attracted the ancestor to Xingxing with his excellent cultivation understanding. He is a peerless genius in swordsmanship and Taoism understanding. It should be easy for Lu Chuan to break the record of a picking festival. This is also true. The total time Lu Chuan spends on picking spiritual herbs is only half a day, and the high-level spiritual herbs are all placed in the system space. Even if he does not steal other people's spiritual herbs, he is worthy of the first place in terms of score. Not far away, Luo Li stared at Lu Chuan, with a bright smile on his face. Qin Chuqing could see her admiration for Lu Chuan from Luo Li's shining eyes. It seems that the two were really close friends. When Luo Li was announced as the number 1 not long ago, Luo Li was not so excited. Qin Chuqing thought. Then again, I didn't expect Mr. Lu to get such a high score. It seems that he knows a lot about spiritual herbs. If Mr. Lu got first place by robbing other people's spiritual herbs, then there was no reason why he wouldn't run into him. I originally thought that I could have a good fight with Lu Chuan with all my strength, and compete with each other, but I didn't have the chance to say that the Ling Sao points were exceeded. Qin Chuqing didn't feel angry that he didn't take first place. It was a fact that his skills were inferior to others, and he couldn't compare to Mr. Lu in terms of understanding of spiritual herbs. Besides, Mr. Lu is engaged to me. Doesn't taking first place prove that he is a man worthy of her? Okay, Lu Chuan, give me the spiritual grass storage ring. The elder of Luoyan sect stretched out his left hand to Lu Chuan. As long as he gets the storage ring, he will sneak attack Lu Chuan. The first place in the picking festival is the best choice to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. After killing Lu Chuan, he only needs to wait here to activate the jade in his right hand at the right time, and the detonation formation in the central mountain range will slowly be activated. Even if his undercover career is over, the world situation will change under his control. Make an effort to change. Lu Chuan was not prepared to hand over the spiritual grass he had obtained. Anyway, he had completed the system task, and if he handed it over, it would be taken away by the evil cultivator in front of him. What if I don't give it? He took out the Ice Soul Sword and pointed it directly at Elder Evil Cultivator's chest. Lu Chuan asked, "What is that in your right hand, Elder Evil Cultivator?" Hearing Lu Chuan's words, all the participants turned their attention to the right hand of the Luoyan sect elder. They were still confused about why Lu Chuan was unwilling to hand over the storage ring, and they were confused about why the elder said he was an evil cultivator. When they saw the red stone in the elder's hand, their doubts disappeared and turned into fear and fear. The starting stone of the detonation formation. Someone couldn't help shouting. A disciple of Luoyan sect said, "Elder Song, don't you explain. Why are you holding that thing?" He has known Elder Song for nearly 10 years, and he never expected that the usually amiable Elder Song would be an evil cultivator. Elder Song snorted coldly, his eyes cold and ferocious. "What's the explanation for this? Didn't Lu Chuan say, 'I am evil cultivator'? Isn't it strange that evil cultivator holds the starting stone of the detonation formation? I surpassed Tang Fei in swordsmanship at such a young age. I am indeed quite capable. How did you determine that I am the evil cultivator?" He tilted his mouth, stared at Lu Chuan and began to smile ferociously. "Can't it just be a sharp eye?" The idea of killing Lu Chuan failed. Elder Song calculated the time. Since his identity was exposed, he could just detonate the formation. A moment later, a huge explosion sounded in the distance, and the sound waves and strange spiritual energy fluctuations spread at the same time, deafening. The disciples who participated in the picking festival all held their breath and looked towards the source of the sound, the deepest part of the central mountain range. The powerful detonation formation lifted up the soil, and the originally protruding mountaintop became concave, and there were tens of thousands of broken soil and stones in the sky. The birds and beasts on the outskirts of the forest were in a mess and fled in all directions. Everyone was shocked, and the detonation formation was activated. "Okay, my mission is completed." Elder Song took out the spirit sword with a smile and said slowly, "Let me see the strongest level of the new generation before leaving Eastern Domain." On the other side, inside the Spirit Sword sect. The news that Dragon Gate sect was suddenly attacked by evil cultivator 2 days ago has spread throughout the righteous paths, and representatives of each righteous path met at the Spirit Sword sect. "Why is evil cultivator silent again? I haven't felt comfortable fighting yet." A representative of the Dragon Gate sect spoke. Evil cultivator only launched an all-out attack on the first day, then disappeared for the next 2 days, and no trace of them could be found nearby. A fat elder said, "Maybe they just came to declare war. The evil cultivator has been settling for so long and wants to challenge the status of the righteous way." The elders present were chattering and discussing, while Shumarong was thinking about why the evil cultivator could appear and disappear so quickly. The Dragon Gate sect had no losses except casualties. On the contrary, many evil cultivators died, many. At this moment, a huge noise came to the Spirit Sword sect, and strange spiritual energy fluctuations could be felt. The direction is due east, where the central mountain range is. What happened? There was a big explosion in the central mountain range. The disciples who participated in the picking festival are still in the mountain range. Shumarong suddenly realized that the evil cultivator was attacking the Dragon Gate sect to attract attention, and their real purpose was to kill promising newcomers from each righteous path. The Dragon Gate sect is backed by the Central Mountain Range, only a few dozen miles away. There must be an undercover agent in the righteous path, and teleportation formations and explosion formations have been deployed in the mountains in advance. Shumarong stood up suddenly and said, "Inform all the elders in the Central Mountain Range to do their best to rescue the trapped disciples. If possible, save everyone. All the elders present will go to the Central Mountain Range with me to see the situation." The elders of the Dragon Gate sect who attended the meeting tried to contact Elder Song, who was still in the mountains, but the sound transmission talisman showed no response. "Master Shu, I can't contact you," he said anxiously. "Oops, the voice talisman has failed. Shu Marong thought about taking out the teleportation stone and preparing to contact Qin Chuqing. At this moment, the disciples of Spirit Sword Sect ran to the conference room and shouted, "Oh no, the evil cultivator has attacked the Luoyan sect. The number of attackers is tens of thousands, and the nascent soul gold core is hundreds. Yunzong crisis." Shu Marong was stunned when he heard that Luoyan sect was in danger. The purpose of evil cultivator is not that simple. What they want is to get the key to seal the disaster. They want to change the structure of today's world. Inform all decent factions to fully support the Luoyan sect. Shu Marong rarely showed his serious face and commanded. Just as the elders were taking action, the deep voice of a strange man was heard throughout the Spirit Sword sect. It was Zhang Sheng. Hey, can you hear me? Zhang Sheng, who was far away in the Sha Kingdom, used the voice transmission spirit treasure. After making sure that the sound could be transmitted, he slowly said, "Fearful friends, don't be impatient. Listen to me. My name is Zhang Sheng, and I'm an evil cultivator." Zhang Sheng's voice spreads in every corner of Spirit Sword sect. His words seem to have magic power and can infect others. He is very good at mobilizing other people's emotions. After all, he is the one who can seduce the two royal brothers Luoli and successfully become the national advisor of a country. For thousands of years, all the noble Taoists have lived in the Eastern Domain. They have lived a comfortable life, with no worries about food and drink. But we can only survive in the Northern Territory. I'm afraid you don't know much about Northern Territory. Let me give you a brief introduction. The Northern Territory is shrouded in a poisonous atmosphere all year round, making it difficult for sunlight to shine. Various high-level spirit beasts from the original novel are everywhere, and everyone has to fight with each other for scarce resources. Quote, "Why would the disciples of the righteous path pay attention to the living environment of the evil cultivator in the Northern Territory? This is the first time for everyone in the Spirit Sword sect to hear about this. They only know that the Dragon Gate sect was attacked, so they all listened with interest to what the evil cultivator said. What do you want to do?" Zhang Sheng said slowly. "The Northern Territory is a desolate land. Our lives are full of hardship and pain, but we are fighting for ourselves and the future every day. But you don't know how to cherish it. You live in the bright sunshine every day, breathe fresh air, and live passively every day. This is so unfair. We are all cultivators, but because of our different ideas, we will be expelled from the fertile Eastern Domain. We want to change the status quo. We want to return to the Eastern Domain, and let everyone on the right path have a taste of what it's like to live in the Northern Domain." Quote. In the conference room, an elder who couldn't stand it said angrily, "That's nonsense. Let me kill this guy. Evil cultivator's arrival in the Eastern Domain will only poison ordinary mortals in the secular world and will certainly not allow their plans to come true." Shu Marong knew that what this man said was true. Evil cultivator really had such ambitions, and he attacked Luoyan sect in order to seek an opportunity to change the status quo. Spirit Sword sect leader, Shu Marong, the current leader of the righteous path, let's play a game. Zhang Sheng's words were full of smiles. Thousands of explosive formations have been arranged in the central mountain range. The righteous path is holding a picking festival, and the most promising disciples are all in the central mountain range. My evil cultivator army has defeated the Luoyan sect's protective formation, invaded the Luoyan sect, and is ready to massacre. If someone goes to the central mountain range to rescue the disciples, everyone in Luoyan sect will die. On the contrary, if you send people to support Luoyan sect, the detonation formation will be activated. Shu Marong, you choose. Choose a righteous future or choose to protect the Luoyan sect." Quote. Hearing this, all the elders present looked at Shu Marong. They knew what the Luoyan sect was hiding. In order to hide the handle of the broken sword, Zheng Dao decided to hide it in the treasure house of the small sect. They thought that evil cultivator Demon Dao would never guess it. If the evil cultivator gets the key to seal the disaster, the hilt of the broken sword, and collects the broken swords to bring the disaster to the world, then the world today will be turned upside down. This is unthinkable. But as Zhang Sheng said, the most talented disciples of Zheng Dao are now all in the central mountain range. Without them, the development of Zheng Dao will be hindered, and nearly 50 years of training will be in vain. They did not have the courage to make the most rational judgment in such a critical moment, so they could only place their hope on Shu Marong. Zhang Sheng started counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Shu Marong pursed her lips slightly, gritted her teeth and frowned, lost in thought. Qin Chuqing, his only direct disciple, was in the central mountain range, and Zhang Junhai's disciple and Qin Chuqing's fiancé were also there. However, the Luoyan sect is threatened again. The handle of the broken sword may be taken away by the evil cultivator, which will lead to tragedy. Shu Marong's lazy temperament disappeared and was replaced by firm eyes. Taking out the teleportation stone, she had already made a decision, and neither party wanted to give up. She said sternly to the righteous representatives present, "Support the Luoyan sect with all our strength, and we will not let the evil cultivator succeed. At the same time, send people to the central mountains to rescue the disciples, and save everyone they can." In the Xia Kingdom's palace, Zhang Sheng had a wine glass filled with virgin blood in front of him. Seeing the support of a large number of decent practitioners, Zhang Sheng picked up the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp, showing an evil smile. He guessed that Shu Marong would do this, which was exactly what he wanted. The edge of the central mountains. Elder Song activated the starting stone in his hand as planned, and explosions sounded one after another in the central mountain range. At this point, all his tasks were completed and he should leave the eastern domain and return to the northern domain, but he really didn't like Lu Chuan. The explosion may not kill all the disciples present. Although it doesn't matter if one or two are left alive, Lu Chuan definitely cannot survive. Elder Song took out his spiritual sword and wanted to kill Lu Chuan. In the early stage of nascent soul, even if he was not a swordsman who was good at fighting, he should have been more than enough to deal with a disciple in the early stage of foundation building, but in fact, every attack he made was neutralized by Lu Chuan. Even a full blow injected with all the spiritual energy will be blocked by the strange power. It is Bingbing, the sword spirit of Bingsojian, who is protecting Lu Chuan. "Boy, don't give up yet. The explosion formation has been activated. None of you can escape. It's better to die in my hands and reincarnate as soon as possible." When the disciples present heard this and the constant explosions coming from the surroundings, they all panicked and didn't know what to do. Their faces were full of fear, and some disciples began to run away deep into the forest. Lu Chuan still had an indifferent expression. "If you want to kill me, you don't deserve it." He was waiting to be teleported into the dragon race ruins. Although the original book did not explain how to enter the ruins, Luo Li got first place and jumped to the ruins after being attacked by the evil cultivator in front of him. Calm yourself down and focus on the Ice Soul Sword. Isn't it just that in the early days of nascent soul, he was a level higher than himself and was very strong? Releasing the sword intent with all his strength, Bingbing also helped Lu Chuan. The wind-carrying ice slag blew deep in the forest, colliding with the heat wave from the explosion. Turn into rain and fall. Their swords collided. It was Lu Chuan who had the upper hand. The supreme sword intent coupled with the majestic spiritual energy made Elder Song's sword-holding hand tremble. Are you really in the early stages of foundation building? This world is too crazy. Elder Song's face changed from joy to seriousness, surprised by Lu Chuan's strength. He started to smile ferociously again. "I know, you are the reincarnation of a powerful person. Fortunately, you haven't developed yet, and you will die in my hands today." Elder Song was frightened by Lu Chuan's sword intent and prepared to end it quickly, crushing Lu Chuan to death with spiritual energy. Seeing that Elder Song's spiritual energy was soaring, Qin Chuqing couldn't bear to see Lu Chuan face the evil cultivator alone, and was ready to go to help. She took out the teleportation stone and handed it to Luo Li beside her. "Take this and contact my master, and I will go and help Mr. Lu." Luo Li was full of worries about senior brother Lu Chuan. After getting the teleportation stone, he wanted to contact Shu Marong. Shu Marong happened to be sending a message to Qin Chuqing. Golden light emitted from the teleportation stone. What was written was, "Qingqing, I know the situation there is urgent, and I forgive Master for not being able to rush there immediately. But support was already rushing to the mountains. You hurry up to where we parted. There is a teleportation array underground there, which can teleport to random places, but it is definitely safer than inside the mountains. Also, at least bring Lu Chuan with you." After Luo Li understood the situation, he looked at his feet. This circular open space contained a teleportation formation. The activation conditions of the teleportation formation were all explained clearly by Shu Marong in a short time. Luo Li came to the center of the clearing and bit his thumb. The bright red blood dyes the earth red. The specific location and shape of the teleportation formation appeared in his mind, and the entire open space was covered by the formation. Injecting spiritual energy into the ground, the formation in his mind began to glow. Just like what Shu Marong said, Luo Li felt that as long as he moved his mind, he could be teleported to any place outside the central mountain range. Luo Li tried to activate the formation. The accident happened. The spiritual energy was originally transmitted slowly, but now it was lost rapidly. In just an instant, most of the spiritual energy in the body was lost. Luo Li's body suddenly felt weightless, and he couldn't help but start to breathe heavily, trying his best to calm down the raging spiritual energy in his dantian. Shu Marong ignored an important point. At this critical moment, she was actually very panicked. The scale of the teleportation formation is very large. In order to activate the formation, the amount of spiritual energy required must be at least nascent soul level. Only a handful of high-level righteous people knew about the existence of the teleportation formation. The original intention was to allow the elders in charge in the mountains to teleport away the disciples participating in the picking ceremony when an accident occurred. Steadying his breathing, Luo Li thought of the reason why his spiritual energy was rapidly draining away. The teleportation array required a large amount of spiritual energy to support it. But he has already dripped his essence and blood, and only his own spiritual energy can activate this teleportation circle. The picking ceremony had just ended, and the disciples' personal storage rings had not yet been unsealed, and there were no elixirs to replenish spiritual energy. If the teleportation formation is not activated, everyone has only two endings, either being killed by the detonation formation in the mountains or being killed by the evil cultivator. Looking at senior brother Lu Chuan, who was fighting fiercely with evil cultivator not far away, Luo Li was confused. She knew that senior brother Lu Chuan was buying time for the compatriots on the right path to escape. Lu Chuan, holding the Ice Soul Sword, faced evil cultivator face to face, the sword lights intertwined, and the momentum was surging. The duel between the two was extremely fierce. If a monk who didn't know the specific situation saw this scene, he would probably think that the cultivation level of the two was very close. After Lu Chuan fought with Elder Song, he found that the nascent soul stage was nothing special. As long as you protect your physical body with spiritual energy, relying on the bone-tempering kung fu, and the spiritual energy of gold core late stage, the evil cultivator in front of you can only damage Lu Chuan's flesh, but cannot break Lu Chuan's defense. Wounds were exchanged for killings. Although Lu Chuan's body was covered with wounds and his white clothes were soaked with blood, there was actually nothing serious. At most, he just lost too much blood. With the assistance of Bing Bing, every move of Lu Chuan contains the essence of supreme swordsmanship. Elder Song's spiritual sword cut through Lu Chuan's sleeve, leaving only a shallow wound on his arm. Lu Chuan's sword penetrated deeply into Elder Song's bones. Qin Chuqing, who was waiting for the opportunity to take action, also took out his spiritual sword and stabbed Elder Song in the back. Elder Song's bones were now broken, and several holes were opened in his abdomen. How is this possible? Based on the aura on Lu Chuan's body, Elder Song was convinced that the boy in front of him was only in the early stage of foundation building. His previously confident expression had turned into shock and confusion. Elder Song could not accept that a newcomer below the gold core level could hurt him like this. Lu Chuan is not ready to let go of the evil cultivator in front of him. He has at least 1,000 spiritual herbs in his hands. He has been an undercover agent in Zhengdao for so many years. If he can reach the position of elder, he must have a lot of spirit swords on his body. Pulling out the Ice Soul Sword inserted in evil cultivator's leg bone, Lu Chuan swung the sword towards his head, preparing to give evil cultivator a good blow. The moment he saw Lu Chuan swinging his sword, Elder Song, who had experienced many battles, realized something was wrong. He simply retreated and picked up the spiritual sword and rushed towards Lu Chuan. The early stage master of nascent soul fought back with all his strength, and the 8th grade spirit sword pierced Lu Chuan's chest, causing Lu Chuan to vomit blood violently. Lu Chuan didn't expect evil cultivator to do this. He originally thought that Elder Song would attack Qin Chuqing, so he allocated part of his spiritual energy to protect Qin Chuqing. This allowed evil cultivator to hurt Lu Chuan. Qin Chuqing, who was not far away, saw this scene and rushed to Lu Chuan as quickly as possible, raised the sword to Elder Song's neck, and threatened in a serious voice, "Leave Mr. Lu." Luo Li's eyes were red, he clenched his hands, and looked at Lu Chuan, who was covered in blood and had his chest pierced by a sword, feeling anxious and painful in his heart. Senior brother Lu Chuan, who seems to be indifferent to the people around him, has to sacrifice himself to protect others again. Lu Chuan laughed after being hurt, early stage of nascent soul. It's really amazing. He just bought the Origin Returning Pill and the Heavenly Origin Pill in the system store and swallowed them. The system store sells apex level elixirs that take effect immediately. Lu Chuan's physical body has fully recovered, and the spiritual energy in his body is also growing rapidly. "Boy, you are still in the mood to laugh." Elder Song yelled at Lu Chuan viciously, while mobilizing his spiritual energy to slash down with the spiritual sword inserted in Lu Chuan's chest. "Go to hell. How dare you!" Qin Chuqing slashed Elder Song's neck with her spiritual sword with all her strength, but could only open a small wound. When Luo Li heard this, he knew that the situation was urgent, so he sent spiritual energy into the teleportation circle again without caring about himself. The teleportation formation hidden under the clearing gave off a faint light, then quickly extinguished. The spiritual energy in Luo Li's body had been exhausted, but it was only activated to the third level when the formation was activated. "Senior brother Lu Chuan," Luo Li murmured. "The girl who has been pretending to be a man and forcing herself to be strong really can't control her emotions." When the crisis came, when brother Lu Chuan was in the most critical moment, he regretted that he could not be used. Senior brother Lu Chuan might die and leave him forever, and he was afraid of this thought. Tears rolled down, and Luo Li's eyes were as moist as crystal, with fear and helplessness in his eyes. The corners of Xiao Chao's mouth trembled, and her lips were slightly opened, not knowing what to do. For a moment, Luo Li thought of the residents of Azure Rock Town. They used the essence in their bodies to turn into spiritual energy, which was half a step towards the great Tao of cultivation. This method is feasible, even if the practice is not evil. It can be done by consuming blood essence to replenish spiritual energy. It means you have to pay a small price and your longevity will be reduced. Thinking that senior brother Lu Chuan was in danger, Luo Li gritted his teeth and made up his mind, urging the blood and essence in his body to turn into spiritual energy and then transmit the spiritual energy to the teleportation formation. After most of Yuan Shou's essence and blood were consumed, the formation glowed again, the spiritual energy was quickly filled, and it was about to be activated. In contrast, Luo Li heard her origin. She was supposed to have a lifespan of 200 years in the early days of the foundation building, but now she only has less than 50 years left. The long black hair turned into silvery white. Her face was pale, and her originally cherry-colored lips were now dull, losing their former rosiness. The vitality that originally exuded from Luo Li's body were now completely gone. Her figure suddenly became like a withered flower, and she no longer had the strength to stand. The target of the teleportation array is all the righteous disciples present. Evil cultivator is not within the range, and the array emits a strong white light. The teleportation array was activated. Luo Li was half kneeling on the ground, with a faint smile on his lips. Although brother Lu Chuan was seriously injured, he could at least survive. "That's good." Luo Li fainted with a smile. 2 days have passed since the picking festival ended. In a cave in the Dragon Race ruins. It was pitch black outside the cave, with the roars of ferocious spirit beasts heard from time to time, and the biting cold wind carrying ice and snow howling. Deep in the cave, a bonfire burned, illuminating the depths of the cave and bringing a touch of warmth to Luo Li, who was still in a coma. "Is it winter again?" Lu Chuan looked outside and couldn't help but sigh. After Luo Li activated the teleportation formation, all the righteous disciples present were teleported to the Dragon Race ruins. The ruins are very strange, filled with ferocious spirit beasts mixed with dragon blood, and the seasons, day and night, have also become chaotic. In the original work, it was Qin Chuqing who activated the teleportation formation. It was Luo Li who won the first place in the picking ceremony. He was fighting with Elder Song, and it was Luo Li who was teleported with Qin Chuqing. Lu Chuan turned his head and once again confirmed who the person teleported with him was. Lying deep in the cave was a petite, beautiful man with a slender figure and wearing a men's blue robe. It was obviously not Qin Chuqing, but Luo Li. In other words, he and Luo Li were teleported together. Since entering the ruins, the system has assigned the next task. System task. Obtain Dragon Race Relics Inheritance. Mission reward. Dragon Race Sacred Body. The physical body can be regenerated if it is not dead, and practicing double cultivation with others can improve cultivation. Let's see what good things Elder Song has on him. Lu Chuan thought to himself. 2 days ago, when Luo Li activated the formation and the white light suddenly appeared, Lu Chuan took the opportunity to capture Elder Song, who wanted to kill him, and let Bingbing control the Ice Soul Sword to behead him directly. In an instant, he took away Elder Song's storage ring and spiritual sword. Open the storage ring and see what's inside. Thousands of common spirit communication grasses and more than 100 rare spirit communication grasses, but the highest level is only the spirit grass required for the gold core stage. These are the harvest of the plucking ceremony, the spiritual herbs handed over by the righteous disciples. There are dozens of spiritual herbs in the nascent soul stage. Now I don't have to worry about the elixir for nascent soul. Elder Song himself is in the early stage of nascent soul. He has already prepared to advance to the middle stage of nascent soul. It is reasonable to be prepared. 1 8th grade spirit sword, 5 7th grade spirit treasures, and hundreds of spirit treasures for 6th grade and below spirit swords. As expected of an undercover evil cultivator, he has benefited from both good and evil, and is richer than ordinary sect elders. The rest are some miscellaneous things, such as Luo Yun's sect skill scrolls, maps, affairs and the like. After packing Elder Song's things and putting them into categories, Bingbing, who had consumed too much energy and fell into a deep sleep, woke up. She appeared floating in the air, and before she opened her eyes, she opened her arms and threw herself at Lu Chuan, saying, "Master, I'm so hungry, you smell so good." Lu Chuan knew that Bingbing had tried her best this time, so he didn't stop her and allowed her to bite his neck and start sucking blood. There was no pain, but Bingbing began to act dishonestly as she sucked her hands. She put her fair and cold hands into Lu Chuan's clothes and began to explore. She breathed heavily on purpose, letting out a charming gasp that was not what her appearance should have. Her tongue was no longer satisfied. The neck begins to slowly wander towards the collarbone. The flawless sword body is like honey to the sword spirit. It cannot satisfy the hunger but can only satisfy the greed. Unless there is extremely close contact, the essence of the sword bone can directly enter Bingbing's body. Everyone understands it. Lu Chuan thought he only liked older people, so he directly picked up Bingbing. Su Lianlian, Lin Qingshe, and Lu Qianqiu are all older than Lu Chuan. Although Bingbing's actual age is tens of thousands of years old, her appearance. "You're still young," Lu Chuan said seriously, then motioned to Bingbing. "Besides, there's someone lying over there." Bingbing glanced at Luo Li, puffed up her cheeks and said coquettishly, "But I'm hungry. As long as the master can give me a bite, maybe I can grow up a lot. When I grow up, I will not only be powerful, but my appearance and figure will also grow. Oh. Eat, 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 you know how to eat every day." Lu Chuan knocked on Bingbing's long black hair. Then he took out Elder Song's 8th grade spirit sword and handed it to Bingbing. He also bought a dozen 5th grade spirit swords from the system store and handed them to Bingbing. "But you did a good job this time. I couldn't beat that evil without you. Cultivator, you give me this." "Master, you are the best, I love you." Bingbing put away the spirit sword, jumped up and hugged Lu Chuan's neck, their lips intertwined and then separated quickly. The contact was instantaneous, and Bingbing's face showed an innocent smile. "I have seen several women do this with their masters, and the masters will be very happy." Hey. Why does the master feel pain? Is there something wrong with Bingbing? "Go back and eat your spirit sword." Lu Chuan couldn't help but roared out, stuffing Bingbing into the ice soul sword. There was no temperature on Bingbing's body. It was as if her lips had touched ice cubes just now, and there was a smell of rust. She had just finished sucking her own blood. There is also an inexplicable feeling of guilt. "Is it senior brother Lu Chuan?" Luo Li's voice came. What was different from before was that her voice had lost its tone and sounded very much like a woman's. "Luo Li, are you awake?" Lu Chuan came to the depths of the cave and looked at Luo Li lying on the ground. The only voice that could be distinguished as a man was gone. Based on his appearance and voice, Luo Li was completely a woman. Luo Li tried to stand up, but found that her body was beyond her control. Endless fatigue and weakness came over her, and she suddenly fell to the ground. Don't force yourself to stand up. Lu Chuan supported the shaky Luo Li. Thank you, senior brother. Having just lost a lot of essence and blood, Luo Li was still very weak and his face was pale, but now his cheeks were slightly red. In order to hide his shyness, Luo Li lowered his head. The bonfire was burning, the red light illuminated the cave, and both their faces were flushed by the fire. Detected that the protagonist Luo Li felt ashamed. Bonus points. 2,000 points. Remaining points. 3,820 points. Lu Chuan heard the sound of the system and looked at Luo Li, who was a head shorter than him. What's wrong with you? What did I do wrong? He still hopes that Luo Li can help him obtain the inheritance of the dragon race relics, but he can't offend this kid. Seeing senior brother Lu Chuan staring at his face, Luo Li's heart was beating fast and his ears were red as if he could bleed. She pushed Lu Chuan away, sat down with her back against the cave, turned her head to the side, and made an excuse at random. I saw my senior brother staring at my hair, and I thought he looked down on me. White hair is really too ugly. Yet, Luo Li did have this worry. In the world of cultivation, cultivators can maintain their appearance at will after chi refining, and most monks choose to stay in their best youth. Therefore, gray hair is very unpopular among monks and is not a mainstream aesthetic. Although the world of cultivation is based on strength, Luo Li still wants his sweetheart to like him, at least not to hate his appearance. Even if brother Lu Chuan hates gray hair and feels old-fashioned, he can dye his hair back. Why is white hair ugly? At least I think it's pretty good. But Luo Li, you are a man. If you were a woman, it would be in line with my taste, senior brother. This is the truth. Ever since he awakened his past life memories, Lu Chuan has had an inexplicable yearning for the white-haired girl. Maybe he saw too many strange things in his past life. Detected that the protagonist Luo Li felt ashamed. Bonus points. 6,000 points. Points remaining. 9,820 points. Well done to the host. Keep up the good work. Closing square bracket quote. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.